Oh, we're gonna get, I think, podcast experience, so it has to be has to be lulls of nothingness.
Staring in space.
Receiving your content. Your audience will see it. Oh, your internet can totally see you now.
All right.
Stop user encoder. Unsupported resolution? The fuck are you talking about?
Have we given up privacy, or did we just have another glitch? What just happened?
I mean, we're online, but
Or is it going to be like when I go to YouTube later and it says Colin Murphy has added new content, 32 videos, and it's just 5-minute segments of the show?
well, that usually happens because if the stream goes down and comes back up, it does that.
Oh, okay.
But we're online.
Okay, good. Let's hope for the best.
Now monetize all 32 of those 5-minute and really rake in them.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American
Why
Dream.
relate to his chip capacity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether young or old.
Here comes the candle to light the bed. Here comes the chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
Wisconsin?
Andrew?
All right, we're all back. Back for yet another, our next to last week of Filmstruck. That's going to be sad.
We'll have to do a retrospective on Filmstruck.
Yes. A retrospective on, yeah, and because I've watched a lot of movies on there. And as we were talking before the show about 70s sci-fi, because I watched Omega Man tonight, just not to talk about on the show, but just because it was like weird.
A curiosity.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. And then we were talking about like what's the best 70s sci-fi, or what's a good example of the genre of sci-fi, from the lighthearted stuff to the, because there's a lot of dark sci-fi in the 70s. I guess we have to start off with A Clockwork Orange. 1971.
Yeah, I guess, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, that's dark sci-fi, sort of. And then, say I watched Omega Man. That was the same year, 71. And then Soylent Green.
Wasn't the first Star Trek movie in the 70s? Or
Yeah.
79.
79. Yeah, there's a lot of these when I mentioned here that just like barely. Oh, Silent Running. That was a weird one. 72. Remember that guy with the robots? They're trying to save the last trees from Earth.
Yeah.
He killed his crew because they were just going to nuke all the trees. Like, screw this, let's go home.
I guess Black Hole's another 70s one, right?
Yeah, Black Hole is like that 79, that cutoff.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just like Star Trek, the motion picture.
Alien.
Well,
Alien.
when was Empire? Was that still in the 70s or in the 80s?
That was in the 80s.
Okay.
His episode, A New Hope, which is the lighter side of sci-fi from that era, was 77, and I think Empire was 81.
Oh, yeah, because, we watched that for the 80s.
Yeah.
Retrospective.
And then, what are some other ones? Oh, Mad Max.
Well, you said THX or whatever, didn't you? Before.
Yeah, THX 1138. That was 71. It was really the most successful student film ever made. Yeah.
Besides the Blair Witch Project.
Oh, and then of course Zardoz with Sean. That's actually a good example of weird 70s sci-fi.
The hell is that movie?
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm going to say one thing to you. Well, no, I would say multiple things to you. At one point, there is a giant floating stone head that vomits guns and says, "The gun is good, the penis is bad."
Yep. That's all you need to know about Zardoz.
I didn't know they made Republican porn back in the 70s.
Yeah, they did.
It's starring Sean Connery in a red diaper.
Yeah, it's really lots of fucking and sex and just a weird movie.
I think when he said red diaper, kind of there's a still picture I have in my memory It's almost like a sumo type diaper where it's red or whatever. He's like sitting in like a cross-legged pose, or
He's got like a
Maybe
Fu
just-
Manchu and shit like
yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yep.
I've seen stills of that. I've never seen or heard of the movie otherwise. I've
Yeah.
seen still pictures of that.
I never watched all the way through. You just watch YouTube clips. It's like, yeah, I've seen Zardoz.
Was
Yeah.
Sean Connery that much of a money whore back
yes.
then?
I think he was in his his 8th marriage or something.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, John Borman directed that.
What did he do?
Guy did Deliverance and
Okay.
what was Excalibur
Okay, yeah.
and The Exorcist and Hope and Glory.
He doesn't even
Yeah, it was
have.
John Borman.
Man, if it was 10 years later, at least he'd have cocaine to fall back on to blame for that movie. But
Well, I hear the interesting thing about that movie. If you watch it, like all those were like in-camera effects, which, you know, why the effects might not be that great, but sometimes impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird movie and kind of futuristic for its time.
wasn't it like
Close Encounters in the 70s?
Yes, Close Encounters was in 77. That's still a cool movie. I still watch that every so often.
isn't there like Xanadu or fucking or some like fucking like space woman?
Barbarella.
Like, yeah, Barbarella. I was trying to think.
Was
of
that the 60s?
I thought that was the 70s. That might have been the late 60s though, because I'm not seeing it on my list.
I've caught some of that movie and it was really goddamn weird.
Oh, yeah.
68.
Okay, it seemed like 70s. That's the only reason I thought of it.
Oh wait,
What?
no, re-release. Hold on. Barbarella goes back even further.
Well, I mean, there was a funny conversation in the recent season of the Venture Brothers where Hank is talking with like Action Man, who's like a really old guy. You know, he's like in his 70s, and he's like talking about like the first time he saw Barbarella, and that was like his Star Wars. Like Barbarella's awesome.
Yep, 68. That one. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I guess Barbarella's awesome if you like kind of are pretty hot woman with weird sci-fi scenery and furs. And
Yeah,
all
it was
that
almost softcore porn.
Yeah, or it just was.
It probably just
Actually, I don't know if she ever got nude in that movie.
No, I think other people did though. Oh, and Dark Star. How can we forget that? 1974.
Okay,
What
yeah.
about Dark Crystal? Is, that
Carpenter.
is Dark Crystal 80s?
That's
or something?
80s, I believe.
Okay. Because I know they're remaking that now, but I swear
And then
maybe
the
it was
Russian
late enough.
Oh, Solaris? Okay.
Yeah. Andromeda Strain 71. I always saw that as a 60s movie.
Huh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that was that old.
Yeah.
Whereas I saw recently they put up another Crichton movie called Coma on the Criterion Collection. I was like, fuck, how many movies did he direct? I not remember that he directed.
That's a weird one. Yeah, Coma's that's a strange one. That's where the guys are hanging so they don't get bed sores. They just drill into their bones and hang them. Yeah, anyway, 70s sci-fi. It's strange.
And Westworld.
And Westworld. Can't forget that.
Because now it's a popular TV show that might be declining or increasing in popularity. I don't know which one.
Both.
Depends on,
I
yeah.
hate this. I'm going to keep watching it.
I'm assuming it's already been greenlit for a third season
I believe so.
since HBO basically almost has nothing else.
Well, I think they've released like what everybody's getting paid for, because like everybody got a pay raise, got like $100,000 pay raise for the next season. So so they're doing it next season.
And A Boy and His Dog.
Oh yeah,
Harlan
isn't that
Ellison classic.
Isn't that the one with
Is it Michael Douglas?
Crockett or whatever from Miami Vice?
Yeah, the
and
guy
Don
from
Johnson?
Miami Vice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Don Johnson.
Yeah, there's nothing good about it, but it's just kind of like, oh, this is funny.
I just like the fact there's a talking dog and there's this bunch of females that want to fuck him. It's like the last man on Earth type thing, or at least last man in the area on Earth type thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much a precursor to the Fallout series.
Yeah.
Because isn't, what's the name of the dog? Is it Dog Meat, or is that? I can't remember. That's the famous dog from the Fallout series. They call him Dog Meat, and I was like, is that a direct reference? I couldn't remember.
I don't know. Let me find it. It was just here, and now I've lost it. That dog's still alive.
Huh?
No, I'm kidding. It's
I was like, what?
60
God,
years.
that makes no goddamn sense.
It's like I don't think any dog lived that long. Okay, just fall for that.
Throw that weird shit out there.
It's one of those.
Dog was named Blood. The voice was Tim McIntyre. but the dog was named Blood. Yeah, I like how that dog was basically looking for someone for him to rape. Like that was the point of that dog, was to like find, because I guess the dogs, because they have a psychological, because they can talk telepathically to humans, they gave up their ability to hunt or do anything like that. So all it has is its senses, but they're not like as good as they used to be because so much of its brain is devoted to telepathy. So the dog is totally dependent on him for food and protection. So the dog's job is to find women for this guy to rape. And then actually the movie ends on a rape scene. It's kind of implied, but yeah, it's a weird movie. Wouldn't make that movie nowadays.
Why don't they just like, hey, we're going to save this woman, and then they just eat her?
I think that did happen. I think he raped her and then they ate her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like...
And it's supposed to be funny?
Yeah, it was ironic, like humorous. Oh, the 70s.
Well, you know, it's not a good movie in the 70s or 60s without basically a woman being denied everything for no reason and being punished for... That Thief movie that I thoroughly enjoyed that we watched with James Caan, where just like the whole relationship like threw me off really horribly because it was just him telling her what to do the whole entire time. They're like kidnapping her and be like, "We're gonna date now, okay?" Or just like Saturday Night Fever, that's supposed to be such a great classic movie, and it like starts with a rape scene pretty much, and him just trying to be like, "I'm kind of sorry I raped you, but can we be boyfriend and girlfriend?" Kind of like the whole movie. Like I
can't have kids. Well, adopt. Here's your kid now. Fuck.
Here you go.
Love him.
Yeah, that diner scene with him was great when he just laid it all out for her. He's like, yeah, you don't drive cars like this and dress like I do, selling used cars. Don't be naive, or be naive, but you know, I'm just looking for a relationship. That was a great movie.
No, it is. I really enjoyed that movie. I kind of might actually end up buying that movie at some point since
it's worth it.
Was
Invasion of the Body Snatchers '78. Can't forget that one.
When was it? What's the Rollerball? When was that? Is that an '80s movie or is that '70s?
'70s. There's the other James Caan movie, '75.
Huh.
My question is that one the best Rollerball or the stupid one with Dean Cain?
I really haven't seen
Or the stupid
either.
one after the one with Dean Cain?
There's one in '75 was stupid too. So they were all. It's just not a good idea.
Wait, did it have Dean Cain or did it have the dude from?
No, there's 3 Rollerball movies. The first one is James Caan, the second one's Dean Cain, and the third one's like one of the like, what's the fuck? I can't think of their names. They're like in a bunch of movies together, and they're kind of like twin brothers that act and shit. And they're like one of the brothers is in the lead role of that one, but that's like a 2000s movie.
Yeah, I remember it was the one directed by John McTiernan, and it was starred one of the guys from Chris Klein, something like that. He was one of the dudes from the American Pie movies, like
that's who I'm thinking of too, and that might have been it. I can't. I mean, I'm sure you could IMDb it, but I know for sure there's like 3 Rollerball movies, and I'm pretty sure they're all fucking horrible.
I heard good stuff about the '70s one. I don't think I've ever watched it all the way through. It's just kind of a weird movie.
The one in the '70s is weird because it's James Caan and then like John Houseman is the bad guy, and they really go into kind of an elaborate storyline about like why this exists, and this is basically whoever wins and loses these games is like how the corporations divide up the world, and it is kind of an elaborate backstory, but it's just not. It's not very engaging to me, at least.
It's a great poster for that movie, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That is a good poster.
Huh. Too bad the movie's not as good as the poster. How many times did you say that?
John McTiernan one was directed in 2002. It was Chris Klein, Jean Reno, LL Cool J, Rebecca Romijn.
What a shitty cast.
Naveen Andrews. Where have I heard that name? That's the guy from Lost. Yeah.
But isn't there a Dean Cain one from earlier than that, or is it just the 2?
Maybe.
Let me see.
Let's look up Dean Cain.
Oh god, there's gonna be a bunch of shit on there nobody wants to see. I think we had a discussion like I don't know how many podcasts ago. Like he's in an anti-abortion thriller action movie that's coming out like direct to video pretty soon. It basically looks like a Republican like raid on an abortion clinic movie.
Well, he was not in any movie that has roller in the title or ball. Although
it might have been a TV movie.
Here's something called Future Sport. That might be what you're thinking.
Maybe
about.
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, it looks like rollerball. Maybe that's why I'm confused.
Oh yeah, it does show up here as being very similar.
Because I just thought
Dean Cain.
And
He
Wesley
must
Snipes.
take the world from the Hawaiian Liberation Organization.
What
Oh,
is-
yeah, Vanessa Williams, Wesley Snipes. Yeah, there's some people in this.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder which one out of all three movies has the better Rotten Tomatoes score.
Probably the first. Well, the first one is by some people is seen as an important movie. I just didn't care for it.
Oh.
Maybe some people do and can tell me why I'm wrong. But
Yeah, I can
First one has a 68.
I can totally validate your claim because there's a bunch of important movies people have given Oscars and given a lot of buzz to that I didn't think was anything that special.
The John McTiernan one has a 3%.
Oh my god!
okay, that's good.
Not
So,
as bad as the John Gotti movie, but
We're almost all up for Future Sport.
Let's guess.
I'm gonna say 16% for Future Sport.
Considering it was a TV movie, I'm not even sure.
Yeah, if they even have a rating.
Yeah.
Well, they have an audience score of 23%.
Okay, that's good. Usually the audience scores are way higher than the critic scores, so
Well, there's no critic score, but that's because it wasn't released to critics. So
that's true.
So did anybody else hear of this movie? Because John Travolta seemed to release two really shitty movies this year, or within the last year. The John Gotti movie made by people that did Movie Pass,
yeah,
which got a 0% that nobody liked.
0%. That's awesome.
And then there's this other movie. It seems like it's basically American made, but with speedboats. And he is like a guy that races speedboats and makes speedboats and transports drugs.
I
throughout
make
the Gulf.
speed and I make boats. Speedboat the movie.
Is he doing the full? What's the guy's name? Nicolas Cage now, where it's like I'll just do anything.
I
I
think
don't know,
so.
maybe.
But at the same time, it looks exactly like he's in the same makeup for the John Gotti movie, but that's a movie he's in the 80s where it's about cocaine and speedboats. So it's like, I can't remember.
Probably filmed it concurrently.
It's like Speed something or whatever is the name of the movie, but I saw it on Xbox Marketplace the other day.
Oh, it's
I
that
watched-
Tom Cruise movie where he's basically drugs and airplanes.
And I half watched.
Oh, is that That's American Made?
Yeah, that's
isn't it?
American
Okay,
Made.
never mind. Yeah, you're.
And then, but there's this line in the trailer where they're trying to intimidate John Travolta because the head of the cartel has an army and he has 2 wives. And it's like, who the hell's afraid of a guy that has 2 wives? Why does that make any sense? It's like he gets bitched at so much. Speed kills. That's the fucking name of the movie. Like, it doesn't. I don't know why it looks horrible. I don't know why anybody wanted to pay money to make that movie.
Those are those like direct video things that there's some kind of profit in it, I guess.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
some
John-
production company just like, we can get John Travolta. I'm like, sure, get him. It's like all those fucking weird Roger Corman movies that have like, oh, here's Christopher Lee in a Roger Corman movie. Like, why? It's like he was available, he was in between movies, and they're paying.
Now, see, John Travolta weirdly did a good job playing O.J. Simpson's lawyer
Yeah.
in that FX film about O.J. The O.J. Simpson stuff.
Yeah.
He was really good. It's like, oh, he kind of sounds like that guy and looks like that guy. So it's like, yeah, John Travolta can act, but not consistently, or he gets
No.
bad material. It's like
Well,
Gerard Butler. Like, who's your fucking agent?
I don't know. I think because they were watching Face Off on the Giant Beast Cast because they do audio commentaries for films every once in a while, and they were watching. They're watching Face Off, and then they like had to think to themselves like, is John Travolta a good actor? And they're like, no, and it's like, name John Travolta's best performance, and like they just couldn't. It was like this Face Off.
I'm trying to think. What is John Travolta? What is a John Travolta movie I really liked?
Well, there's
And I
Pulp
know-
Fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, isn't that like pretty much up there in the genre of best John Travolta movies?
Yeah, probably.
yeah.
I mean, Blowout's good, but I'm not sure how much he makes Blowout or how much that's just.
I mean, I don't think anybody's
He's
gonna say
director's
like
tour de
Michael
force.
was his best movie.
No.
Or fucking, what's the one where he has like premonitions and he has like brain cancer and shit and like dies early, but like makes miracles for people. And
Phenomenon.
crap. Yeah, Phenomenon. Is anybody gonna say that's his best movie?
Nope.
No.
Bubble Boy.
I've never seen like what was it Midnight Cowboy or Saturday Night Fever? Like those are supposed to be good movies, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
Saturday Night Fever is.
Urban Cowboy.
Oh, Urban Cowboy.
Yeah,
Urban Cowboy is a good movie.
Saturday Night Fever is pretty okay. It's. I don't know if it ages well.
I liked him in Broken Arrow for the ridiculousness.
Oh, I forgot about that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah,
No,
that's kind of the start of his like. I'm gonna chew the scenery.
Yeah, yeah. That's just a good ridiculous movie. There's nothing great about Broken Arrow, but it's just fun to watch.
That's a good John Woo action movie.
Yeah. A Civil Action is his best movie, where he becomes the disgraced. He's this kind of the shitbag lawyer who's just going to exploit people for quick turnarounds and quick settlement lawsuits. And the end of the movie, he ends up broke, and because he basically gave it all up because these people affected him so much. He's like, I can't fuck these people by just doing a quick settlement. And he lost his firm and he lost everything. Actually did a good job acting in that. At the end of that movie, I was like, because that's how the movie ends. He's in some ratty apartment with all these banker boxes full of legal briefs because he's basically being these people's lawyer for free. I forget what they died from, some kind of
Some
industrial-
chemical plant thing, right?
Yeah, it's actually a really good movie for John. That's one I remember that stuck out as like, hey, he did a good job there because it was low key. I mean, he was kind of like the hyped up lawyer guy for a little bit, but when it was time to change gears and become like a real person, he did a good job. So that's one that I do. I knew there was a few of his that I liked.
Well, there's one from that we watched for a Criterion Collection one.
Blowout.
Yeah, why did I think it was a different fucking name? Like that was pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's his best performance.
No, but that's also like that's more of a let's watch Brian De Palma be Brian De Palma more than like let's watch
John Travolta.
be John
Bring this
Travolta.
movie home.
Swordfish was a good mental unplug. I liked him in Swordfish.
Yeah, but he's had like other. I swear, there's been other big box office successes for him, like the one where he's like a military lawyer with somebody else. I can't.
Well, that wasn't a big success. That was based on
Oh.
a cool book though called The General's Daughter.
Oh yeah.
That's the guy, the smart-ass army lawyer. What's the name? It's the Nelson DeMille guy. It's like this army jag or whatever the army legal team is.
Yeah.
This lawyer that always like, he's a real smart-ass, but he always like, if there's something is going on that he knows is fucked up, he'll just keep on it, and he consistently gets. I forget the guy's name. But he consistently gets the shit beat out of him, but he just keeps going because he's like investigating special forces people that committed murders and stuff, and he always ends because he's just a lawyer. He's not, and he happens to be in the army, but he's not equipped to fight these guys. So his cars blow up and people try to kill him, and he's always like, "Well, that didn't go as planned." It's kind of an interesting character. It's Scott Brick, the now famous reader who reads all the books. That was the character he got started with, was the Nelson DeMille guy. He is that guy's voice now, but that's when he first, because he does sarcasm really well. That reader does, and those books are like just made for that guy.
Sorry, I've been thinking about something the whole time. You've been talking about those books and the guy that voices them in the audiobooks and stuff like that. But it was
Well, that means I'm communicating effectively. If it's something else.
no, it's not. It's not that. It's just that I immediately thought of something because to me, Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington, and John Travolta are kind of in the same leading man role gig. They're kind of, I mean, except for Tom Hanks anyway. They're all kind of like leading man, maybe action, maybe alpha male characters that are older father figures at this point, or were playing older father figures in the 90s and 2000s and stuff like that. So I was like, technically, when the Jack Reacher movie came up, Tom Cruise, I think, more or less got it because he was younger and maybe able to play the role better. But I was like, what if you did a gay porno spin-off and just said Jack Reach Around, starring John Travolta?
I'm sure it's already.
Well,
built up.
yeah, that's his real life.
Yeah.
I know, that's why I was like thinking about
Jerking
it
off
kind
guys in bathrooms and health clubs in the middle of the night in L.A. I love my wife.
I love this woman. This female woman. I'm not gay at all. I don't know that. Please don't sue me.
I know, but at the same time, it's just something like, I wonder if you just take...
Allegedly.
Like, I feel bad because I know, like, didn't they lose their son, like, 6-7 years ago now? Maybe.
Oh,
Are we talking
fuck,
about
is it-
Travolta or
Yeah,
Cruz?
Travolta.
His
Travolta.
son was
My
drowned or
goodness.
something, was it?
Oh yeah, the kid that had all the health problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's-
Because I know he has a couple other kids, and I think he's still married to his wife and stuff.
Oh
but-
yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're into Scientology together forever.
Oh, Jesus. I forgot that he was a Scientologist.
Oh yeah. That's like. Well, I think Scientology's trying to forget about that too. But yeah, he's got the house where he has like fucking commercial. He owns commercial jets,
Yeah,
like personally. Not
yeah,
doesn't.
and a pilot license to fly them.
Yeah, and he was the spokesman for Qantas for years in Australia. Yeah, so he's yeah, the stuff.
It'd be funny if the
Clubs, yeah.
ads for Qantas were just like, fly Qantas, I'm not gay.
Comes out and says it.
Just that's the old ad. It just says
There's no
Qantas.
dick sucked by another man on any of our.
That's what the bathrooms are for.
Just me. Not any other man.
I just want it to be like a 1 second one off where it's just like, fly Qantas Air, and then John Travolta just pops up all serious. I'm not gay, and then it just goes to a blank background like a color, and then it says Qantas Airlines. John Travolta's not gay, and then that's the commercial. That's the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I know he got taken to court over that, but the cases got dismissed. So
Yeah, because
So-
I know he's had a couple people sue him for supposedly paying for sex and all this other crap and silencing them. And
yeah,
shit,
but you got to look at the people that are suing him too.
Yeah.
It's like they're pretty sad sacks. It's not like a senator or something's like he accosted me in a restroom or you know.
But
No,
how many flying movies? Or like, he was in a pilot in Look Who's Talking Now. He was a pilot in Broken Arrow. Whatever. Has he been a pilot in any other things?
I'm sure. I like the one where
Because
he was
that's an ungodly expensive hobby to have.
oh yeah, when you it's ungodly expensive to have like Cessnas and shit, let alone commercial grade passenger aircraft. I don't even know those. They don't measure fuel by gallons; they measure it in pounds. I mean, I don't know what it would even cost to fuel. It would probably cost more to fuel one of those than my house. So I can't imagine.
Yeah, so that makes sense why he's taking any movie role he can get. 'Cause,
Oh, he's been popular because he had that weird. I know he was doing those talking baby movies, and everyone's like, "Well, it's over for him." And then Quentin Tarantino, like, resurrects him, and then he throughout the '90s he had really successful. I mean, he was getting like $20 million a movie for a slew of movies. So I'm sure he's got money left, unless he's just paying for all these commercials.
Well, you know, Scientology gets their 75% cut, and airline.
yeah, because what him and Tom Cruise the only main I guess that and the guy who played My Name Is Earl. Is he still Scientologist?
I think so. I don't know.
I mean, they're the only
And
3
Will
stars I
Smith.
can think of. They're still Scientologists that are.
I know Leah Remini isn't, or
Well, I swear there was somebody else on that list that like split recently from them or whatever. But I swear it was
Kirstie Alley's still doing that.
maybe.
I just remember her as Lieutenant Savick, and I just hold that memory, even though she was more than years. It's like, oh, Lieutenant Savick got really fat,
And then skinny again, and then fat again,
and then
then-
fat again.
and then nobody cared after that because I never heard anything about Kirstie Alley.
And then she was dead, and you're like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, never mind."
Kind of like somebody mentioning Rosie O'Donnell the other day, and then I was like, "Who the fuck cares about Rosie O'Donnell? She hasn't been relevant since the '90s."
Trump
Yeah,
still hates her.
I mean,
still.
not that she's not a person and doesn't need attention or whatever, but like she hasn't had a talk show for what, since like 2000, 2001.
Was
So,
she
yeah.
on what's the
Oh, the
circle of anger?
The View.
Yeah.
I think she was on that for a while, but I think that's even.
She got
over.
kicked off of that.
Yeah. So I
Great.
don't think she's really done anything.
She has like some documentaries for like gay cruise stuff that she's done
That sounds exciting.
for HBO, and then the last role I remember she played like a mentally like
She played like a retarded person, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the last role I remember that she did.
Otherwise,
Oh, she's got fucked up kids too. I know one of her kids is like she pretty much had to retire from everything because their adopted daughter tried to kill herself or something.
I think she like ran away and shit and tried.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew there was some bad
Because they
shit.
recently like got her back and stuff like that. So main reason she's been in the media the last like couple of years is mostly because of her kids and stuff, which is horrible. I mean, she never seemed like she was a bad person or anything. So
No, just some angry gay Irish chick.
I thought she like got recently remarried too, but I have no idea. It's not like I really have any stake in her life or care that much. But at the same time,
Yeah, my thing is like I don't care what you're doing with your sex organs, just entertain me with whatever media you're producing, or don't, and I'll never think about you again.
so yeah, I don't know why Trump picks on this weird people he does, because I don't.
Oh, because he holds grudges from back when he was 8 years old. I mean, that's a walking grudge.
He doesn't drink, so he has to,
Yeah, he doesn't drink. And his
I
brother
doubt-
drank himself to death, so he decided not to do that. Drank
Somehow,
himself to death by like, I think he was like 10 years younger than me by the time he died. That's some serious fucking... He was an airline pilot.
okay. Yeah.
so how long has Trump supposedly not touched alcohol?
I don't know.
Because it just seems like from the lack of brain cells usually that he has, I would say that either he was born with it or maybe it's alcohol.
Everything's just fueled on rage and ego with him. And it's dangerous. And everyone sleep well tonight. Again, I always remind people this man controls 8,000 nuclear weapons. Good night. Sleep tight. Think about that.
Yeah, and the part where he just sends troops to the border, I didn't think he could do that. I thought you had to like get special permissions, and like because you can't just like
Oh, the troops
Say- you
can't
can't-
actually do anything.
yeah, well yeah, because like the military is not supposed to conduct military operations other than training inside the United States unless the enemy's here.
I
Yeah.
thought, weren't those National Guard people, though?
They are, but they're still barred from actually doing anything with legal immigration because it violates the Constitution.
Oh, you're talking about...
So they're
possible
literally,
Hottest
they had a
stuff.
Vox News story I watched the other day. There's 2,000 people sitting at a base, that makeshift base they put up in Texas right now. All they're doing all day is just basically being on their phones and their Game Boys or whatever, and just
And Halliburton and
whittling away the
Bechtel
day.
charging the taxpayers $2 million a day to provide them with fruit drinks and maybe, electricity. It's like, yeah, this is great. We're really protecting this country by distributing fruit drinks. And the thing about, I think I talked about this last week, that whole caravan thing, it's been going on since like the late 70s. It has something to do with whatever season ends in Honduras and Nicaragua, then they come up through Mexico here to look for work. It's like this has been going on.
Okay, it's just a seasonal work thing.
Yeah, this has been going on forever. This isn't some vanguard of invasion of. It's just more bullshit. Is what it is.
That reminds me of the what's the name of the book about misuse of drug. What's everyone abusing now?
Oh, Dreamland.
Yeah, Dreamland. Yes.
Book, by the way, I finally read that.
Okay, yeah, it's a really good book. Yeah, like all the Jalisco boys, they'd all come up to all these weird cities and they'd sell black tar heroin to like housewives and shit. Really the big thing that put a big damper in them. I mean, there was like the biggest drug sting ever happened to these guys, but really the thing that put a stop to all of it is that avocados got really the price shot up, and so they just went back home to farm avocados because that was better than selling black tar heroin.
I do. That book inspired me to to see that I could be a heroin dealer because I like the non-violent crew. Like, hey, we're just here to sell heroin, and it's like, you want to rob me or whatever, take my heroin, cool, because we're not going to make waves. We're not going to run around and shoot people. We're not going to drive around in Lamborghinis. We're just here to sell heroin, stack up money, and send it back home. I like those guys for that reason alone. It's like, hey, we're like the Mormon missionaries of heroin dealers. Hey, you want this heroin? Okay, cool. That's fine. If you don't want it, someone will.
And they made propaganda to get their customers to stop ODing on drugs.
Yeah. They were like, don't much of this shit. Giving out or what was the one? What didn't they want to give out Narcan to people? Just not because they didn't. I mean, these people were completely amoral, but in a verse way. It's like, we don't want our people to use our product to die. It's like, well, that's kind of sweet. It's like, no, because we want to sell them more product. They were being very corporate in their style. It's like, hey, if we show up in town and shoot people, that's just going to draw a lot of attention. We're going to be the friendly heroin dealers.
Yeah, because they avoided like big cities because like, oh, there's already drug dealers there and they're violent, so they just went to like weird, like out of place cities. Yeah, it's like this. It's like the second largest city in every state. Like that's really where we're at.
Well, I mean, it makes total sense though. I mean,
and then like the one guy had this whole encompassing philosophy, like, I'm selling this shit at 1,000% markup. You can only pay me this much. Fuck, I'm still money ahead. It's like, we're making this stuff literally in industrial volumes. It's like, okay, you don't have $200 for a gram of smack, $150. I'm not going to twist your fingers and break them over $50. Here you go. You know, they were almost like, it was weird, but it was very smart too. Those guys didn't get fucked with. They were huge and they were off the radar until they were on the radar. Then they realized, oh wait, these guys are a problem. It's like, they're not shooting up the cities, but they're still a huge problem.
They drew around in old cars with balloons full of black tar heroin in their mouth.
Yeah, just dressed like normal people. Just like the friendly heroin dealers. So yeah, I like that. That's a great book. It's terrifying, but it's a great book.
Yeah, because like all the data from that book was like from 10 years ago, and you look at what's happening now. It's like, oh, you can see this from miles away.
Yeah, that's scary when you read certain things and you really just invest in topics, and then you start being able to call the shots. Like something comes up on the news, like epidemic. It's like, fuck, they were talking about that 15 years ago. And part of me feels like scared because, wow, this is probably worse than I think. And part of me feels angry because it's like, did I miss an investment opportunity? It's kind of like, well, if there's going to be suffering anyway, I might as well profit from it. I gotta find some post-auto industry job and maybe be in the big fat, friendly heroin guy. I don't want to shoot people or dissolve your kids in acid. I just want to sell you drugs. That's the fucking, the cartel boys are doing that shit. But yeah, that's a great book. Everyone read it. Just feel good at night.
And the Florida chapter, it's like, again, Florida.
Oh yeah, super Florida in that book. I mean, nothing shocked me. It's like they could have said anything. It's like,
Why are we delivering literal barrels of codeine to a fucking doctor?
Yeah. What doctor needs like it's like FedEx. It's like, can you charter a 747 for? Do you deliver pills with? Can you use a dump truck? It's like here at all. See, Doctor whatever needs. He needs 500. Can we do him like a? He just buys hair or Vicodin in like cubic yards, like you'd buy floor tile or something. It's just
the way John Travolta buys fuels for his jet.
Yes. It's like, can we price this guy? This guy wants pricing in cubic feet now. It's like, it's like having gravel delivered. How many yards you want? How many yards of oxy do you need to get through the holidays?
Yeah,
I never understood the draw of that when there's plenty of good liquor available.
Yeah, but everybody's got their own high, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's the book where I learned what OxyContin stands for. Did I ever tell you that? Probably.
Maybe, but I don't remember it.
It means oxy is like whatever the drug name is, but the contin part means continuous. So like as your body dissolves like the layers of the pill, it will release OxyContin in your body as a pain relief. So it'll last throughout the day. So you're not constantly taking pain medication. You just take the one and it lasts. But what people are doing is like, fuck, let's smash this up. And then you just destroy all that property of each shell being dissolving and being so you just get it all at once.
Like a sniper rifle to use.
And at that point, you're basically essentially taking heroin.
Yeah, you're essentially. Isn't that what they called it? Hillbilly heroin?
Yeah, I think.
Before it became actual hillbilly heroin. Remember, that used to be the joke. It's like, the Brewster boys are grinding up Oxy, that hillbilly heroin, and then Oxy got too hard to get, and then it's just actual fucking heroin. Is this better or worse? Where are we at? I mean, the thought of people that I grew up with and knew in those little towns in the rural Midwest shooting heroin now, it still fucking boggles my mind. Because literally, when I graduated high school, the crazy kids were smoking dope. Like, that was like, oh, you're a fucking rebel if you're smoking dope. Now, drinking liquor through a funnel, well, I was doing that. So that didn't, that was pretty much normal at that time. But only the crazy kids smoke dope. Now, they're just banging veins, dropping over left and right. Where my wife was born in Kokomo, Indiana, there's this Facebook page she's a part of called the Kokomo Scanner. And the thing that people do in Kokomo now is they, when they take too much or whatever, they're too fucked up, they go lay down in the street because they know someone's going to call the cops if they're driving down the road and there's some dude laying in the street, because that means they OD'd and they need their anti-narcotic shot or whatever and get them back in the game. Because we couldn't understand this. It's like, why are these people laying in the street all the time? And we went back there to visit sometime and was like, what's with the people laying in the street? And then somebody explained to us succinctly, it's like, yeah, that's why they do that. Because people will pay attention to you if you're laying in the fucking street. Because it means you need your, I mean, the cops literally show up.
You just get out of the car, feed them some heroin in their veins, and drive off. That's all they needed.
Yeah, that's what they needed. Well, I mean, the laying in the street means they OD'd and they know it, and they're like heading into a coma. So they want their whatever that shit's Narcan,
yeah.
Yeah. That's what they and the cops literally just have like a suitcase full of this shit in their trunk. Like, because now, like in Michigan, they opened up the laws on that. You don't need a medical license to get that or dispense it, because there's so many people ODing here mainly in the rural areas. So it's like people got Narcan. They have classes now. I can go take a class down at the YMCA about how to give Narcan to people. They were talking about it at work. It's like, you volunteer and sign up. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't know CPR, and I'm not fucking learning about Narcan.
Well, I'm pretty sure somebody could volunteer and sign up at work to stop people from dealing pills in the bathroom. But
pills are hard to get now. They're not, because I remember that we used to just be fueled on that at work. Like Betty Sue got her prescription filled. Go see her, $20. You'd see these line of guys. It's like, are they lining up for a blowjob? Cool. Pills. Oh. Thought everyone was lining up to get blown, but no, nothing that exciting or noble. Just,
funny how prostitution is a noble profession, but
this is exciting.
That's just a drug dealer.
She blowing 20 guys behind the press? No, just doing pills. Fuck. Everyone's just numbed out. No one has the energy for a blowjob anymore. They're just sitting around on their stuff.
Be funny if somebody is like, did the supervisor know? Is like, yeah, he was the first person in line.
he got a blowjob though.
He got a blowjob and the pill. He got the blowjob first, then took the pill. Chill time. You gotta chill.
No, because I was reading this fucking story, because apparently in New York they're really cracking down when people OD they like take all the property that's in the apartment or residence, and they arrest anybody that's in the residence as well.
What are they gonna get? Some coloring books and a Walkman? I mean,
Well, no, because the story I was reading, because
Is that the guy who like couldn't prove like he had a legitimate job? It's like, no, and everyone's like, you're a
Yeah.
fucking drug dealer.
yeah, basically the guy said he worked from home with his computer and some money, and they moved in with them for.
Because like one of the headlines is like, the cops took all my shit and now I don't have a job. It's like, oh, that's because you're a drug dealer.
yeah,
But
the
it's
cops
just-
fucking my hustler.
I just get to the point where it's like I was with him for a little while because he didn't really explain what the situation was.
Yeah,
till
yeah.
Towards the end of the story, where he's like, "I'm self-employed," like, okay, drug dealer, but also it's like, well, we all were doing heroin that night, but then we separated. Then he just OD'd. I'm like, okay, how can you not see this is a problem?
Yeah, because he was like, they're doing like full tilt Lynn bias laws on him.
Oh,
So-
okay. So they're doing the full ass-fet shit, huh?
Yeah, it's like we don't care about the supplier. You're along in the chain. You get fucked as much as the supplier is.
Yeah, this good old Rico shit there, you know.
But
Well, that's
yeah,
one way to mitigate it. I don't know. That yeah, the dope shit is really out of control. Oh, legal weed here, December 6th. They upped the ante in Michigan, so
yeah, I saw that all your props passed. So congratulations. No gerrymandering and weed.
yep, no gerrymandering, weed, and motor voter registration. We're now lined up with Arkansas when it comes to voter registration. Like, good job, Michigan.
Donate your organs and register to vote at the same time.
Oh, I had a shitty form notification at work the other day about what did they say? Essentially, these are federal trade zones. We follow federal law. We do not recognize the use of marijuana recreationally in or around our facilities or by our employees. You bring dope on the premises, you will be prosecuted federally. And we had to sign some form. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, no shit, I know all this stuff. Yeah, they're the no dope crew out there, so I'll never be able to partake in Michigan weed. So.
Until Ford opens up a factory on an Indian reservation. And then
Yeah,
Yeah, but you can grow your own and sell it.
yeah, I can grow the shit
You
out
get
of
a
it.
side, you get a side business.
Like, oh, I can go to downtown. I've actually gone into some of those places downtown. You know, the hydroponics places, because I knew a guy. Because I just wanted to learn about. It's like, tell me about growing weed. It's like, I don't want to take it. I'm not interested in it. I do liquid drugs called, alcohol. So I'm not really interested in weed. But tell me about, oh man, it's like talking to people about grapes for wine. Like, oh, you got to grow it this way. Because now I remember the shit used to be green. Like the last thing I knew about pot was like it's green. And now it's like purple and pink, and it's grown that way. Like it forms that way. And it's like, yeah, this shit is, this does this to you and that does that to you. And everyone says stay away from the edibles. So it's like, okay.
Well, you've listened to done enough Joe Rogan, so you just know.
Yeah, well, I mean, even
Edibles are more of a body high rather than a head high or something like
edibles
that.
are a good body buzz, and it's like I always try to correlate it because I actually have a group of people that are trying to encourage me, like, you should get into this weed thing. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get into this weed thing. So I have a teenager at home. What am I supposed to do? Just pull out a bong? I mean, if I get glaucoma or something, or I need a lot of pain relief, I might try some weed. But until I reach that point, I'm not really interested.
you should be like one of those wine snob, except with weed. Is like, does this pair well with fish?
Yeah.
Or is this,
The food or the band?
or is this more of a
You got to clarify.
is this more of a dessert weed? Like, I don't know.
Is this jam band weed or is this more prog rock? Here.
Or is it just I'm playing a tambourine and I can't really sing weed?
Oh, I know some people that are trying to tell me that I really need to do mushrooms and acid because it's like they did not like do it 100 times.
You know what, Nathan? Anybody's hobby is drugs. They want to get you into it too.
No, these people's hobby isn't drugs and they don't do it anymore. But the thing is, it's like this guy was telling me, it's like, yeah, you know, sometimes when I talk to you, these thoughts you have, these ideas you throw out, it's like you really need to do some mushrooms and just, you know, you can really think about things on a larger scale. And I'm always kind of like, my fucking brain works fine. I don't need to, like, do I need to think about death or mortality? It's like, yeah, I'm going to be 45 pretty soon. I weigh 300 pounds. Believe me, death and mortality is not far from my mind. It's like, what kind of experience am I going to have here?
Well, I can accidentally simulate the experience of doing shrooms in that sometimes I'll have such a vivid dream and wake up and not know what reality is. Because the through line and logic of the dream is still going on as I'm waking up.
Yeah, I don't need to feel like that in a conscious state.
But once you get past 20 seconds, like, oh, I'm back to reality. Oh, fuck.
And I definitely, I mean, mushrooms, if I was at Burning Man, maybe, and I didn't have anything else going on. But LSD, no fucking way. Because the thoughts that go through my mind normally scare the shit out of me, let alone enhancing that. You know, when I start to wonder, like, what would this building look like on fire? It's like, can you imagine that on acid? Oh, shit. It is on fire. Ah!
No, it's just always weird how, I mean, my wife's friends are more of the people, or at least people that smoke pot. I think they've also had LSD and mushrooms and stuff like that. My wife talked about experimenting with those too, and she's like, oh, I just like weed, and that's pretty much where she stops at. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I can't disagree with people. Like, they're almost the best salesmen. You gotta try this. It'll change your life. It'll make you feel so much better. It'll enhance all your senses. And it's like, no, I don't think it will.
Yeah.
It's like, or I could just do a lot more things sober because I'm not spending money on drugs. Like, I don't know which one. I don't know.
Remember when Jon Stewart was just known for being the on weed guy?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He did have that before he became the Edward R. Murrow of our generation and then quit.
You ever driven a tricycle on weed?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes like the basketball player story really interests me. Like when I hear about how basketball players love to smoke weed and think about basketball because they swear to God it makes them better basketball players. They like to play high because they can focus better on basketball. When I hear that, it's like, I want to try something I like to do on weed and see if it makes me better. But the times I've smoked weed, and I'm not going to lie to you, I've done a lot. Grayson, don't listen to this. I've done just about everything you can imagine once, and I never enjoyed the experience. I mean, the only thing that kept me coming back was booze because I know exactly what's going to happen. Like I can judge that on a gradient. Like, okay, I'm getting too drunk, or this is happening. But the times I've done drugs is just I feel like I'm out of control. And like with weed, the thing I hate the most about weed is I always know in my head from years of working industrial labor pretty much what the time is to within like 5 minutes, because everything I do is time. I always know what time it is even without looking at a clock within 5 minutes. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I'm pretty damn close. The few times I've smoked weed, I completely lose total grasp of time, and I fucking hate it. I hate it because I'm always looking at the clock. What time is it? What's going on? Were we just talking for 3 minutes? It felt like we were talking for an hour. What did you even say? What the fuck am I doing? So I don't like that. It's never been my thing. I don't like to escape. I like to be rooted in reality. Because when it's my time to die, I'm just going to hold on to the earth as long as I can because, I'm not into that whole abstract shit of everything shutting down. Some people really love it, though. I never got it.
I tried Alpha Brain.
What's that?
How'd that work? I
did.
hear about that a lot from On It.
Yeah, it
Okay.
did. It's supposed to like.
Was it a placebo or did it do anything?
No, it didn't do shit.
Okay.
Basically, it's supposed to like help with like memory function and stuff like that, and it's supposed to give you like more lucid dreams and things like that. It's perfectly legal. It's something that Joe Rogan pitches on his thing, but it's like $50 a bottle or something like that, and the shit didn't work at all.
So it's basically,
Or I'd noticed no effect.
it's basically like an InfoWars supplement. that
Pretty
has
much.
whatever claims they want.
Some of Onnit's stuff is pretty good, but a lot of it's kind of pseudoscience.
Yeah. I mean, if you're running 15 miles a day and you take that, it's like, I feel great because of this. It's like, no, maybe it's the running 15 miles.
It's called the runner's high for a reason. It's not. But no, I've had only a couple experiences with weed because I've only tried it a couple times, and mostly what my experiences are is watching my wife and her friends or family that smoke it with her interact with it. And there's been 3 things that have drawn me off from it. One, if you're drunk and you smoke, you just become sober. if you're not in any, if you're not drunk and you're just sober before you start, you just feel tired or maybe slightly hungry, aka munchies, and that's it. So I'm like, well, I can feel tired by doing shit all day, so and I won't go to jail or lose my job.
Yeah, that's the other thing I noticed is I wanted to eat a lot, which is the last fucking thing I need.
Yeah, I know. And the third thing was with edibles. My wife, the first time she tried cooking with hemp butter, she made sugar cookies in the kitchen, but it was the first time she'd ever done it, and nobody really know what to do. And obviously, you just can't look that shit up on the internet. And like, how do I bake marijuana cookies?
Well, you can.
Well, back like 8 years ago, no.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's so anyway, she made them, and she kind of got some directions from her dealer, but not like great ones. So she just kind of used the whole stick of butter.
My surprise.
The whole stick of butter to make like 2 dozen cookies, and the cookies just smelled like weed. That's all they smelled like, not sugar cookies. And she put green food dye in them, so I didn't make it any better. But they both had one. They didn't wait to see how it would affect them. Her dog got like a quarter of one because it fell on the floor and she didn't stop him. And so I didn't partake because I didn't care to. And so the rest of the night, her friend and her eat another one like 5 minutes later because like, we don't feel anything yet. Her mom eats another one 10 minutes later because she didn't feel anything yet. I think they all ended up eating 2 or 3 cookies in the span of 30 minutes. And for the rest of the night, they all panicked the fuck out. And we're like, we're not breathing. We can't get off the couch. The dog's dead. The dog's dead. He's not breathing. We need to call the vet. And I'm like, he's breathing just fine. You're breathing fine. Shut the fuck up and stop being idiots.
You couldn't be talking right now if you weren't breathing. You're trying to rationalize with these people.
And it's just like they're fucking freaking out all night. And later on, like the next day, like, how did we handle it? I'm like, you don't fucking remember? It's like, you guys are totally off the handle, and I thought you guys were gonna get arrested because you're gonna run outside screaming, I can't breathe.
Yeah, see, fuck that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so it's like, at any other time my wife's had edibles, she's complained about it just doesn't do anything for me. And it's like, well, apparently if you eat enough edibles, it really fucks you up.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, some of those edibles have like pretty high dosages. So I always know, like, when Joey Diaz is on the Joe Rogan show, is like, he always like ropes somebody into, because Joey Diaz will just like eat something like eat edibles like it's a buffet. He's like, here, try some. It's like, okay, I guess I'll just eat this whole bag of weed popcorn and have a bag of gummy bears. It's like, yeah, that's gonna be fine. This is gonna hit you real good. And then like, I was bawling my eyes out for 5 straight hours.
Yeah, it's so good.
And Joey Diaz is like, I'm not high yet.
Yeah, and then he'll be honest with them later because they would do like weed gummies before they go on planes, like 200 milligrams or something. And he'd be like, yeah, I'm not even high. And then later he'll be honest. He's like, dude, I almost had a nervous breakdown. Stars of death. Yeah. I mean, it's like I've worked in auto plants for the last 20 years, and I've, except hallucinogens and heroin, I've pretty much tried everything. The weed was really weird. Now the thing that was good was fucking cocaine. Cocaine is good. I mean, you're like up for the game, but it costs so much fucking money. It's like, you know, my inner cheapness is like, no, we're not. What, we just spent $200. What are you fucking talking about? You need more money. This is crazy. $200 should be like, I could buy like really nice scotch for that and could be fucked up for a week. But cocaine's pretty cool, but it's too much money. And plus, when you're, like this was like before my son was born, so yeah, when you're like 25 and you're just standing perfectly still and your heart is running like a jackhammer, that's probably not a good thing to like continue on into your 40s and 50s. That's the only other drug I found that's like, oh, this makes sense to me. I see why people like this. But you're a complete jackass when you're on it. I mean, you think you're really like cool and funny, but you're just annoying.
So
yeah,
I noticed you left methamphetamines off the list.
no, I've never done that either.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure you haven't done that because you still have all your teeth and you don't look like
anything that involves veins. If I can smoke or snort it, I mean, at one point in my life, you could probably get me into it. But anything that involves intravenous injection, no, fuck that. I'm out. It's hard for me to. I got my flu shot this year. I almost went into a panic. I'm not really into the whole fucking. I understand the necessity of needles, but if I got to search for a vein as a recreational activity, I'm out.
They don't offer the spray flu shot in your.
Was that determined ineffective? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Is it ineffective?
Yeah.
I thought
No,
they
you
saw.
you can stab me with your steel shank, but I mean, the thing with me in shots is I'm not going to do one every. Yeah, it's like, oh, we got to give you this one and that one and this one. Why I don't pet strange animals, because if you get rabies, you got to get like 11 shots.
Or you can just take one shot to the head.
Yeah. The big sleep, yeah. But yeah, that's. I mean, I get drugs, but it's not my thing, and it's too expensive. That's the thing that drives me nuts. Is like with all this legal weed, it's like when you see the price lists on this stuff, it's like, oh fuck, this is insanely expensive.
Oh yeah.
I could buy like a Stuka Bomber model, like the really nice one for what we're charging for. What do you call this, Spaceman or Red Russian or whatever this weed is now?
Oh my.
'Cause we're getting flyers around here stuck in our door. It's like, try this. It's like, no, it's too much money.
Well, my wife keeps talking about, because every time another state legalizes it, either medically or recreationally, she gets more excited because eventually this will cascade into hopefully everybody legalizing it and being a nice tax boom and everything. But I'm more worried because the amount she spends on weed now I'm not comfortable with, let alone what she'll spend on it when it's legal and she can just go to a store like CVS and go like, I just went to the weed store, honey, I bought a few things. This is some lemon bars and 1 pound bag of weed. Like,
Yeah, I don't see the draw. Maybe I'll eat these words in a year when it's all legal here and you can just go buy it. And I'll be doing the podcast like, hey.
You're in dreadlocks.
Welcome to the Zen Show. But I don't think that's going to happen. Well, I can't keep my job, so I don't.
American Zen Factory.
We're way the fuck out there tonight. What were you saying, Colin? It's like an hour and a half has passed.
Put your mic on!
Man, I was having these thoughts, these dreams.
yeah, it was Colin telling you to put your mic It's like we've been talking.
I don't even have my headphones on.
It's like,
Your back is turned to the microphone.
Yeah,
it's just
that was a great podcast, guys. You fucking not even there.
It was me and Nixon just having a conversation.
I'm just watching videos on YouTube of other podcasts. Like, man, we had a great show last night. Totally fucked up.
But then it's just
Ben Shapiro was not on your podcast.
But then it's just repeating your line from earlier where it's like we've been talking for a minute about, hey, is your mic on? And then it's just like, we've been talking for hours. It was great material. We went really in depth into the issues. Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. So anyway, drugs in America. Good luck. Good luck, everyone.
I mean, I don't agree with legalizing all drugs, but I know I don't know how Portugal's still doing with that, because I know they're the only nation in the world I think that has that stance still.
What? Well, I guess it's somewhat limited, but isn't Amsterdam that way?
Certain districts in Amsterdam are, yes.
Okay.
But it's not the whole country. Because I think Canada's only the second or third nation to totally legalize pot.
Well, actually, legal weed is a weird concept. outside of North America. I mean, there's a few places in Europe, but there's a lot of places there where it's like you're bringing heroin into the country if you bring pot in. So I know like the UK's pretty strict about it. What do you have in Iowa? Just medical or anything?
We recently expanded our medical. It's still pretty limited, and we did expand it to we can actually grow marijuana from or not people, individuals can't grow medical marijuana, but licensed individuals can, and the state can buy it from them. Because it used to be we had to get all our weed from out of state for medical purposes, and now you can actually grow it in the state.
So now people growing weed in their cornfields can do.
Oh, there is a weed here that looks like weed. I think it's called ayahuasca, is the slang term for it.
Well, there was farmers that would have side business growing weed, and like they'd have to tie the weed down as it grew, because
they have their cornfields and shit.
Yeah, because like weed when that grows naturally it gets like 15 fucking feet tall.
Yeah,
when it's just out in the open.
Yeah,
and so yeah, like cops would like find it from like they'd be in a helicopter. It's like, oh, there's the weed we're looking for.
Yeah, I wonder how much farmers are still doing that, because I know that was a big thing years ago, but I don't know how much they've really.
Well, as long as you put like huge excise taxes on it and stuff, there's that black market's always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as profitable, but it'll still be there.
Yeah, I'm not under the assumption that the black market or the illegal part of it will totally go away, but as far as, I mean, Colorado seems to still be experiencing higher crime reports and higher incidences of violence, but they attribute that almost to the increase of people coming to Colorado that wouldn't have been there otherwise because they're attracted by the drug industry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if every state was that way, would it just normalize, I would think? Or, I don't know.
It's no different than weed can be regulated and sold and governed just like booze can. It's essentially the same thing. Now, when you're getting into like heroin and narcotics, that's a different animal.
Yeah.
But weed and liquor, I mean, they're different drugs, but it's like it's no different me shooting down shots of whiskey than somebody smoking a joint. And it can be handled the same way. Because if I drink 3 shots of liquor in the morning before I go to work, I'm an alcoholic. And if you're smoking weed before you go to work, you got some kind of problem. And that's not acceptable either. But if you want to do that shit recreationally in your own time, I don't have a problem with it.
No, neither do I on that regard, as long as you're not actively trying to impair yourself to harm other people in some way, then yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but as an equipment operator and someone who's ran cranes and done all kinds of shit like that, I do not want people smoking weed trying to do that.
No. But it is really hard to kill yourself with weed.
Yeah, you drink yourself to death pretty easily, but you can't. Yeah, I don't know what the limits on weed are.
It's pretty much something like you have to, so many tons of it you have to inhale within like so many minutes. So yeah, I don't think you'd, unless somehow like the whole world was weed and it all got set on fire at the same point, you took a big breath, I don't think you'd be able to do it.
Yeah, I wonder what the limits are. Like, I wonder at some point your body just doesn't even like absorb it anymore. It just passes it straight through.
Well, you see those videos like the guys, the modified leaf blower bongs that like light up and just blow weed smoke in people's faces, and these guys literally sit there for like 20 seconds just taking in a huge leaf blower thing of smoke into their face, and they just sit there, and it's like, you need to fucking breathe, asshole. Like, I don't know.
I am.
Like, how the fuck is this beneficial
I've
to you?
used leaf blowers to burn stumps into the ground, and I've used leaf blowers to heat metal up to the point where you can whack it with a hammer and forge it. I can't imagine using a leaf blower as a weed supplemental. That would be an incredible amount of fucking
just like look it up on YouTube or Google or something. It's like a glass or plastic tube at the end of it, where somebody takes a lighter with a bunch of weed at the end of it. It just blows it out from the air motor directly through the plastic tube into someone's face.
Oh my god, that must be incredible.
I don't know why somebody thought that needed to exist or why it exists.
Let's turn weed into pornography.
Yeah, I mean, I thought bongs were pretty crazy. And the only one I ever wanted was the one that looked like the wizard Gandalf. and like you smoked like through his hat. and he had his staff on the front. So you put the weed in his hat and you smoked it like through his back. And I was like, I just like to have that because it's cool, not because I really smoke a lot of weed. But it's like that Gandalf bong looks, and it had water in the bottom of it, and it's like this is really cool.
I can see somebody doing that at like a housewarming party, and like every time somebody tries to step through the door, you shall not pass until you take a hit off this bong.
Totally see it.
Take a hit and pass it. Then you can totally pass it, man.
I thought the Gandalf bong was pretty cool, just because it was Gandalf, and
There was
not that I would, you know.
there was one at a local head shop over by a community college over here called Kirkwood, where it was an entire monkey skeleton made out of glass. It was probably about 4 foot tall and probably about 1.5 feet wide. It was like $2,500.
That's cool.
It looked cool as shit, but I'm like, this is so intricate and delicate. I would never, if I were to
this is
smoke weed, I
broken.
would never try and use.
I mean, how else is anybody ever gonna sell that art? You gotta turn it into a bong.
Yeah.
I mean, it was black glass too, so it wasn't even like. I mean, I don't know what color would have made it less cool. I mean, it was all. I think you probably made it any color, it would have been cool. But
Brown. Brown. I mean, that's
brown
cool.
glass. Because they do have a lot of cool. I mean, just going there and like shopping for my wife for certain things occasionally, just to replace her stuff because she always breaks crap all the time. Like, there's pretty nice stuff they do with glass now, like glass blowing with technique and just different designs and stuff. There was like a Bart Simpson one, and I almost bought her like a couple years ago. That was pretty cool. And there's like everything you can think of now. There's Rick and Morty ones. There's a bunch of other shit.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that only makes sense. There's
I'm looking for the Gandalf bong now.
weirdly there was a Mr. Rogers number. Like,
Oh, that makes total sense. Like, who's more chiller than Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
it'd be really weird if there was like a Nancy Reagan bong. Well,
Well, 90.
let's get fucked up.
Yeah, they already have that as a meme. You shall not pass until you hit this bong. Bong out. Yeah, it's already there.
Damn it! Ugh. Why am I mad about somebody having common sense? I don't know.
And then they have the long pipe that he smokes in the movies,
That'd be cool.
which is never implied what it is. But
It's elf blood. And cum.
oh god, here's how to make your own Gandalf pipe. Smoke it like Gandalf. I might get into this weed thing if there's a lot of Lord of the Rings memes. I might be able to do it.
Why'd you lose your job and get really into weed, Nathan? Gandalf!
Lord of the Rings.
All right, what are the names of not Sam, Frodo's other two companions? Is it
Merry and Pippin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like one of Merry and Pippin ass fucking each other. It's a bong.
That didn't happen. It's implied. It's just that's a British thing.
No, it's just something where recently I've been reading the Game of Thrones books, and I'm halfway through the third book right now, and in the show, like Renly and the Lord of Flowers are basically are lovers and are in love with each other in a couple behind the scenes and stuff, but it's like in the book it never mentions anything about him being either one of those characters being gay. And it's like something that was entirely made up for the TV show, apparently.
Yeah, that was just to make the TV show more contemporary.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we have gay and evil characters.
Yet they left the mob rape of a 12-year-old out.
Yeah, why did they do that?
Or the fact that Daenerys Targaryen's like 13 when she fucks what's his name, the Dothraki guy.
Oh, the horse
Khal
Yeah.
Drogo or
clansman.
Rago or some Drago or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, they don't include a lot of that stuff. I
Like
mean, The Walking Dead didn't include a lot of, because the governor had Michonne gang raped in front of everyone in the comic books. They don't ever mention that in the the TV show.
Oh, I know. There's only certain things.
Why didn't it have the child orgy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't Stephen King's It have the child sewer orgy in it? That's something you need to have in a movie. They have to lose their innocence in front of the camera.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of fucked up shit in other books that nobody puts in movies or TV shows. So I'm not like discounting, like, oh yeah, Daenerys should have totally got nude as a 12-year-old girl in front of a TV audience. It could have been child porn. Everybody could have watched it. It would, but no.
Yeah, they probably didn't like.
If you want that, just watch a Jodorowsky movie.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that.
Yeah, they probably looked at like what's our win-loss here on, what kind of fan base are we going to develop? How much pedophilia will we have to have regularly, and how much can we get away with? It gets really confusing.
Oh, I
HBO
know, it's
needs
just-
their pedophilia waiver.
Yeah.
As long as the parents agree, it's not pedophilia.
Well, that's the thing, though. When you get, whether it's Stephen King or George R.R. Martin, whenever you come upon scenes in books like that are that level of like, oh, a 13-year-old's having sex with a grown man, and it vividly describes everything, and it's like, is this pedophilia? Because it kind of feels like it. And it kind of feels like I want to awkwardly just skip these next whatever how many pages of this sex scene lasts.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, it's like I'm reading the latest Richard K. Morgan novel, and his books are it's science fiction and politics and weird characters, but then there's like vivid sex scenes all throughout the books, and this book like takes the cake. Like there's a sex scene right after a sex scene. Like, whoa, we're just totally and these are like the most intense. I mean, it's adults, but these are like some of the most intense sex scenes I've ever heard or read written down, and it's like it's kind of a thing with him now where that's in his novels.
But I like the sex scene and Altered Carbon, because like the lady had some special pheromones, what are they called, Cloud 9 or something
Merge
like that.
9.
Yeah.
Where you experience it from both sides. and she describes it as this comes out of my cunt. It's like, I don't think a woman would ever say that, for one, but yeah, Richard K. Morgan has vivid sex scenes in all his books. I mean, just beyond raunch. It's like reading, like if you were just reading porn. Like he shoved his prick into her. It's like he explosively orgasmed. It's like, what? I was reading about spaceships the last page. Where did this come from?
Well, I've read plenty of books that I've really appreciated and stuck with me that don't have sex scenes in them. I wonder how much sex scenes are almost more required now in big mainstream novels or popular novels.
They are required, but that's just there's a certain audience that's built in if you have one.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's what I mean. Is it just something that seems to be more acceptable now and people kind of expect it?
No, because there's been tons of sex trashy novels. The thing about sex scenes in a book is that there's no pictures, so it's completely legal.
No, I didn't mean that it was horrible or anything. I just meant that it used to be like, if you go back to, classic literature things, there might be romance parts of it, but it wasn't anything straight up sexually, where now in the modern age where it's not as vilified and it's more acceptable.
The most popularized books back then maybe didn't have it, but there was totally all that shit was out there.
Yeah.
Unless the church was around to kill you for it, it was okay.
Well, 'cause I know like a popular thing now is like Amish romance novels, like cowboy romance novels.
Really?
Yes, my grandmother loves Amish romance novels and cowboy romance novels.
Now, do those have vivid sex scenes in them?
I don't know. I would like to say yes, because I'm sure there are, because I've read like snippets of. Last Christmas I went on Amazon to like look at because I was gonna buy her a couple of books. So I was like, I'm just interested to see what the hell she's reading, and it was just like, she could tell from across the pasture his biceps were bulging through. His like, yeah, this sounds about accurate. And it's like, it didn't get into any raunchy stuff, but like, I'm pretty sure.
The sex scene is just when they lightly spoon.
He asked her if
Amish porn. He pulled out his unclipped cock and rolled back the sheet. It's like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? She was turning butter
She
5
felt lightning through her clitoris and knew it was wrong.
She knew she was going to hell, but she was gonna take that fucking hard. It's like, where did this is like Amish?
It'd be weird if they equated it to modern technology. It's
I bet well, I guess if it's directed towards your grandma, I bet there's like an older audience that appreciates like because like the basic characters working there have to be, by definition, have simpler needs and be less complicated.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Top Yoder likes bacon and oral sex. And not necessarily in that order.
I just want to see one of the Amish sex scenes because I'm almost like, Edna wonders if anal is like what riding in a car feels like.
Oh, they have technological.
Yeah, just basically like wondering how people live in the real world, but also having sex at the same time.
He worked her clitoris with his thumb like a blender. Blender.
like the
Move
man.
the circle gently.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
We're not sure either, Alexa.
Alexa, what's the top Amish sex novel?
I don't know that one.
Oh, is that the Alexa tarp? Alexa curtain?
But no, I mean, I was surprised as you guys were because I knew people could read whatever they want. And romance novels existed for a long time, as is trash novels as well. But at the same
I don't know.
time,
Amish,
it's
see, that seems almost like quaint compared to what there is out there of like various animals, humanoid animals, porns, things.
Oh yeah, like werewolf porn and
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I guess it's good my
Transmorpho
grandma's not
porn.
into like clown porn or something, but at the same time, it's like, who had the first idea for an Amish porn novel, and also how can you make more than one novel out of this?
I just looked it up on YouTube or on the internet. There is a subgenre called Amish porn. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's like videos of the people dressed in Amish garb.
Should it just be sketching?
Could be. That's part of the deliciousness.
I was like, video breaks their code. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, part of the sin is the camera stealing your soul.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I thought the weirdest sex genre I ever found was like Japanese dick girls. Like somebody was talking about that in a Reddit forum. I was like, what is a Japanese dick girl? What the? I thought it was like an actual Japanese girl with like a strap on. No, it's some kind of animation thing where it's girls with like big tits and women, but with huge cocks. And it's like a huge subgenre of porn. I was like, this has got to be the weirdest shit I've ever heard of. And then I went and looked at it and looked deeper into it. And it's like, oh no, this gets way weirder. There's like tentacles and aliens and cars with dicks. And it's like, what the hell is this? And who's doing this? And it's like, oh, Japanese people and weird internet-addled teenagers in America, apparently.
Well, because giant, X-cup tit women that prance around and want to be fucked all day in school uniforms, that's too norm anymore.
Yeah, it's just too basic.
You gotta press the envelope in another direction.
You gotta have a woman with just a gigantic horse cock, animated, so it doesn't even look real.
Nobody even buys panties from the used panty machine anymore. We gotta really step it up. We gotta
have people with like, it's like a penis, a vagina, and an asshole, and it's like, oh, when we got porno that where all these three things meet together in some opposite, like transaxle position, like a German boxer motor. It's like, what the fuck is this? And
who's already the anime?
You might like the movie Society.
Well, because there's already anime where it's like naked women that transform into battle objects, like either dildos, swords, or other things, and they do battle. It's a fucking anime, and it's like they're all lesbians at the same time too. So it's lesbian sex meets dildos and then sword fight.
That's my jam. Lesbian sword porn.
And it's like, what the fucking hell? It's like, it doesn't.
For Honor.
I mean, there's other weird ones too, but not in the same vein. Where it's like, oh yeah, all these people in a medieval castle fighting off people with Apache helicopters and M16s. Like, that's weird, but not near as weird as fucking.
That vaguely reminds me. I've seen the new Castlevania TV show from Netflix.
Oh yeah,
that's a TV show.
Yeah, second season.
Oh, tell me about that.
It's pretty good. It's genuinely good. So by default, is the most successful video game to movie TV show adaptation.
Okay.
So it's Castlevania. So you got your Dracula. I think this is more specifically Castlevania 3 that it's kind of, because first two were Simon Belmont. This one's Trevor Belmont, which is like his son or something, or just lineage or whatever. It's pretty interesting because they kind of humanize Dracula a little bit, or at least make him sympathetic somewhat. Because it starts out, there's like this charming woman who just like goes to Dracula's castle because she wants to be a doctor, and because Dracula's like the oldest person in the world and basically has all this knowledge, she's like, he's the best person to teach me how to be a doctor. And he's just like taken by that because she's charming, and so he marries her. They have a kid, and then he like goes out on adventures or whatever to get more knowledge so she can be a better doctor. And while he's away, the church thinks that she's a witch and burns her to death, and because of that, Dracula wants to destroy all of humanity.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then this kid grows up to be Doogie Howser.
It's kind of a weird season format. Season 1, 4 episodes. Season 2, 6 episodes.
Yeah, I think really season 1 and season 2 are basically the same season. They just kind of split them up in parts.
It must be longer, like
I
30
had
minutes.
no
It's only
idea
4 episodes.
this was a Netflix show.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. It's,
highly rated one too, with 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah, it's really good. I mean it's basically just an anime. It's just a good anime. It's more.
Okay.
It's like. I mean, it looks like an anime, but it's written in it looks like an anime, vaguely Eon Flux-esque in a way, but it's like written by people you know. I just immediately forgot his name, but he's worked on like a bunch of comic books and stuff. Because I think he writes all of them.
Is it dubbed or subtitled or?
No, because it's like made in English.
Okay, I didn't. You said it's similar to anime, so I didn't know.
Yeah, well, it looks like an anime.
Alright.
Like that's its style, but it's because I think they call them like Western animes, where like that's like what fucking like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where like it looks like a Japanese animation, but it's like it's all made in America, or at least it's probably animated by South Koreans, but it's
Then voiced in America.
voiced, written, and all that directed in America.
It's Waname.
Yeah, coherent storytelling is what we're talking about. We don't want to say that. Oh yeah, I'm watching the trailer here. This looks pretty cool.
Very exceptionally violent and lots of swearing. Almost no sex, I guess. I mean that it doesn't have to be.
Say sex is something I normally think about with a Castlevania game anyway.
No, but like if you're gonna have extreme violence, be an anime and have tons of swearing, you figure sex would be involved at some point. But no.
They're saving that for the Detective Pikachu movie.
Yeah.
Pika-poo!
Yeah, there's like, well, it was weird. I'm not sure if I missed it in the first part or the first season, but like in the second season, there was like this big old fight scene, and they do kind of because like Castlevania has some like really, really rememberable, famous music for a video game,
Yeah.
or just in general. And like they like bring the theme back in. It's like, oh, that's cool. I completely forgot they had this whole lineage of music to draw from, and this is the first time I'm noticing they're using it.
Yeah, this looks kind of cool. I'm gonna have to watch this tomorrow.
I mean, did they steal anything from... I mean, Vampire Hunter D is pretty much a pretty famous Vampire Hunter anime and stuff like that. Is there anything reused from that?
No. I mean, all I remember from that is like the talking hand and shit like that, and weird the things they use from the video games, they have the whole like moving castle concept.
Yeah.
Where it's like the Castlevania that Dracula has, like it will just appear places. So it's almost like the castle is a starship.
Oh, okay.
And it'll just appear places and like infect the world. Warren Ellis, that's who is the writer on this.
We're gonna do a Devil May Cry version of this too.
Huh.
Same guy, Warren Ellis. Yeah.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. That's a video game, right?
Yeah. It's a very over the top killing demon video game. Half demon killing demon.
That reminds me, they still need to play Bayonetta.
Yeah.
I just never played that yet.
But yeah, so this involves, so you got Trevor Belmont. So his family, he comes from a long line of vampire hunters. He's just kind of a dick who's the first time you meet him, he's just drunk, fighting people in a bar. It seems like his family's like all gone. So that's kind of sad there. And then there's like this lady. She comes from this like it's like a line of lizards, not lizards, wizards, or magic people called the Speakers, and they pass down all their knowledge via speaking. So they don't write anything down.
Okay.
So if they're the 12 people that belong to this thing die, then all that magic's gone forever.
Yeah, keeping that that oral tradition from caveman days alive.
Then you have Alucard, who is the son of Dracula and the woman that got burned at the stake. I always love that because Alucard totally sounds like some weird Eastern European name they just came up with. It's not like you never think Dracula backwards would like sound like something that was the normal name.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he's in it. So those are you can play. I believe in Castlevania 3, those are the free playable characters. So I think it's what taking off. But then then you get into the court of Dracula, because he has all these people. He has a couple of humans on his side, and they call them forge workers, and they basically make the demons that go out and destroy humanity.
Okay.
This one guy
Allies.
This one guy has like this little pug that follows him around. It's like missing half its face, and but it's acting like a cute little pug. It's like very disturbing.
Oh, he's cute until he turns his head.
There's the one guy who he has like some weird it's just a leather strap with spikes on it, and he just like self-flatulates himself.
Oh, like the
the
monks in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, he just does that. Then also there's time he fights with it, and he just really fucks up people. Like, oh, that's horrifying. Like one of you just wraps it around a guy's face and is like, oh, that must hurt, and then he just like rips it off and then spins around, just rips the guy's. It's basically just a skull screaming.
The old cat of nine tails to the side of the head.
So yeah, I was pretty good. I was pretty surprised, but I kept hearing good things about it, and I just like, oh, I don't believe it. Like video games don't turn into good things.
Yeah,
in other media.
99% of the time they don't. But, oh, cool. I'm interested in that. I might check that out.
Yeah, and they're only like half-hour episodes, and.
Oh really? I was gonna guess they're longer if there's only 4 episodes.
No, because anime's expensive, so.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't think there's any animations that go beyond half an hour. I can't think of anything unless it's just a mini series or something.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to spend like a buttload of money on it either. So it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just surprised because what's the newest show that's been on that the Simpsons creator did?
Oh, shit. Was it Disenchanted or what?
Yeah, because I think that's like 10 or 12 episodes the first half.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, not that that's the same style of animation, but I'm assuming it's costly the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
Has a bigger voice cast probably, and
Yeah.
probably has a bigger budget, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, I don't know, Netflix has produced a lot of animes, and I don't know how much of it was like a full-on their production, or if it's one of those like co-production deals, but I think the Castlevania one's like all them.
Well, because I know I watched Original Sin from them the first season, some of the second season, but I don't think that's an original one.
Well, it's here it's listed as a Netflix original, but I kind of have my doubts. That's like how, The Expanse, like in Europe, it's a Netflix original, but here, it's a sci-fi show and now an Amazon show. Or like all those fucking UK co-production, fucking police procedural shows that it's, or Swedish police procedural, or Finland police procedural. That's Netflix original. It's like, no, it isn't.
It seems like there's a lot of British stuff that's mostly started out in Britain that's a Netflix original.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cranked that shit out.
Was that I heard good things about that new one, The Bodyguard. What's with the?
Yeah, isn't that the guy that played Rob Stark?
Yep.
I thought that was, and I was like, he looks way fucking older. No, it does look good, and I meant to watch that. But there was another one I was wishing we had another season. It was this. I don't. Maybe it's only lasted one season because it's been out for like 3 years now. It's like some Exorcist like thing where it's like this larger African American woman, and she's like in Britain and like cornered by demons and stuff.
Oh, was it Baghead or what the fuck is that?
Pinhead? No. Shit.
Something Head. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make a second season of that.
I was kind of hoping they would because the first season was interesting.
Yeah, it kind of had a Buffy the Vampire kind of feel to it, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna do a second season.
Like Crazy Head, I think.
Yeah, that's it. Crazy Head.
Okay. I was trying to think of it because it's still on Netflix. And keep hoping they're gonna come out with another season, but it never happens.
Have you watched Homecoming yet?
No, not
As me and Nathan watched it. We're really strangely effective because it's a show that totally looks like an hour drama and it's in each episode's half hour.
Huh.
And they totally knock it out. They get everything you need. It's all in there. They don't miss it. Well, I mean, sometimes they just like end a show randomly. It's like, what the fuck happened there? But that's kind of the fun of it.
Has anybody watched the new Chris Pine movie? He's the
Outlaw King.
Yeah.
King or
I
Outlaw?
haven't seen it. No.
Yeah.
Mom told me about it. I might take that in tomorrow. I don't know. I'm currently building a model of a Mack DM800 heavy-duty pickup from the 70s, and of course I had to put a anti-aircraft gun from World War II on the back of it. So, what I'm gonna watch tomorrow while I'm doing that.
I envy you because at least you can watch things while you put stuff together. I don't really have that option or ability.
Yeah, sometimes I listen to books on tape too. So
Yeah.
sometimes watching stuff is too distracting.
Yeah, that's why I don't usually.
I mean, you got my Kindle.
No, I know I do. It's just something where literally I run into the same problem if I go to the shop and try and paint or put together stuff. People want to talk and people want to do other stuff, and I get distracted and I don't get anything done. Because holding a sharp knife and
there was a really neat trick I heard the other day while listening to Joe Rogan. Because they had Tom Segura on, and like every time he's on that show, I always like to tune in because I don't regularly listen, but anytime Tom Segura, because I don't even listen to Tom Segura's own podcast because like half the time it's them watching an internet video and discussing it for an hour, and it's like, well, this is kind of boring, even though if it's slightly funny. But he's talking about like listening to music, like listening to Spanish music or music you don't understand, because if you don't understand the lyrics, you're not necessarily getting distracted by it, but you're kind of like energized by the beat and stuff like that. I was like, it's kind of listening to music that doesn't have any lyrics whatsoever, but I thought that was a fascinating idea.
It's like Rammstein. It's like, this sounds really cool. I don't know what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah, I have Rammstein. I even have some opera on my thing just because somebody wanted to listen to fucking opera years ago. So I bought like, here's 150 opera classics for like $5. I'm like, sold. And then it keeps
Listen to a lot of Wagner, and it's like, oh, Hitler makes sense now.
Oh yeah, Wagner is on there for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, he's famous, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Fly of the Valkyries is a good song. It's just like, well, that's definitely not a good identifying song. The reason I know so much about Wagner is because of the Gaps cycle.
Yeah.
So supposedly Richard, what's his name? Stephen R. Donaldson based all of the Gap novels on Wagner. It was like because the
was it the Ring trilogy or was it?
Yeah, the Ring cycle.
Yeah, that's it.
It was because the evil, technologically advanced dwarves, and they were the Amnion, and then all the characters in the Gap series were based on names from Wagner. But he made the Amnion stand in for the Jews, which is who Wagner really hated. And all the evil people in Wagnerian opera were essentially stand-in for Jews. He didn't come out and say it, but yeah, that's what infected Hitler's mind. I mean, I don't know much about. I've looked through because of that. I looked into the operas of Wagner. I don't understand German. I had them translated, and I was like, okay, I can loosely see how all this comes together. But I'm just not smart enough to get it all. But yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of huge historic figures in history that hated Jewish people. Henry Ford.
Oh, yeah.
Walt Disney? No.
I mean, I know every, not generation, but like every, century almost seems like a new scapegoat. Like, everybody hated, Irish, the Czechs, black people, Jewish people, it just...
No, they keep coming back to hating the Jews.
Yeah, the Jews they keep coming back. Yeah, that's
why I wonder. It's like, why, I mean, not that being any nationality or religion's wrong, but at the same time, it's like, how come we haven't moved on to another group, or at least...
Well, the thing with
Mexicans.
the thing with Jewish people is, like, in America, we just see that as a religion. In the rest of the world, they see that as a race, too. And they've always been outside the Christian, kind of worldview of Europe, which is what we came from too. And yeah, if you're outside that Christian worldview and you're in Europe and you reject all that, yeah, you stand out, and people immediately, it's like, oh, the people that aren't like us are responsible for everything that's fucked up, and that just falls into a pattern. And sometimes it takes life of its own. You can't even understand it all. It's like, why do you hate these people so much? But yeah, I mean, the Jews have been a stand-in for Satan and for just everything evil. It always comes back to that. I mean, what was the thing that the movie that Mel Gibson made, The Passion of the Christ?
Yeah.
Like that is just anti-Jewish propaganda from top to bottom. Not the movie he made, but its origins. It's like, yeah, that's basically saying, yeah, well, the Jews killed Jesus. So you're you poor peasants who don't pay attention to how the lords are fucking you and stealing your crops and taxing you to death. Be sure to hate the Jews over here. Don't pay attention to what we're doing to you. That's what that's what the origin of all that was. It's like, yeah, you got to hate these people so you don't pay attention to how we're fucking you over. But yeah, they come back in history as targets, and in Europe it's like art. Being anti-Semitic is like an art form over there. Here we see it as kind of weird and vague. It's like, isn't that what the Nazis did? But over in Europe it has like 1,000-year history of. Because the French hate the Jews for certain reasons, and the Spanish hate the Jews for certain reasons. And when you really look into it, it's like, oh, this is all just, stories passed down in the kitchen from Grandma about how it's like, these people are bad, don't you know?
Technically,
not my grandparents, but
some. At the moment, I think probably the only people that have any rights to hate Jewish people are Palestinians. But then again, at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they do, but then when you go into a crowded cafe and blow yourself up and kill a bunch of people that didn't have anything to do with it,
No, I know. I mean, both sides are fucking idiots, but at the same time, it's always the Palestinians complaining because the Jewish people steal their land and kill them and deny them their lands. They're supposed to be theirs, and the Jewish people saying the same thing about the Palestinians. So I don't know.
Yeah, expansionist racial real estate policies are never going to be popular with anyone, especially if you're on the losing end of that. But God has decided his role as a real estate agent.
That was kind of interesting. The latest Doctor Who episode kind of got into that when I can't remember what the fuck they called it, but it's when India and Pakistan finally became two separate countries. Yeah,
it was when the British were leaving India.
Yeah.
They told all the Muslims to move to Pakistan because we like you here.
Yeah.
It was basically a fuck you to India. So you have to deal with this problem for the next 100 years. Aha, we got you. Yeah.
So where does Kashmir come into all that? Is that an actual separate country, or is that just a province in India?
It's just a free fire zone for every kind of lunatic, drug dealer, and everything else you can imagine. I mean, a lot of Kashmir is floated on the heroin trade. But yeah, it's kind of like a law-free zone, from what I understand of it. I'm not an expert, but yeah, that's Kashmir is basically a province where you can all the illicit stuff you're doing to generate money. That's where it happens. That's you grow the poppy seeds in Afghanistan or Pakistan or wherever, but you sell them in Kashmir. So that's why it's such a dangerous, lawless place, because everyone wants to pretend it doesn't exist. But this is where the black market actually converts poppies into cash or whatever the hell you're selling. Kalashnikovs, RPGs, nuclear weapons to terrorists, whatever you want to do.
Bootleg
That's
DVDs of Hannah Montana.
Yeah, everything, anything comes into your mind. Well, hey, we watched a movie this week.
Yeah.
We're going back to our Kurosawa indie film or classic film roots. We watched Yojimbo.
And I watched Baby in Manhattan.
Oh. Okay.
No. Sorry. Yes, I watched Yojimbo's.
This is Kurosawa's, like, in the Western world, his second most popular movie. I guess.
I'm guessing his first one's Seven Samurai then, or is it?
In the Western world, it is.
Okay.
In Asian cinema, this is his most popular movie.
Oh, okay.
Because this is kind of a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's comedic parts to it.
It has an interesting soundtrack to it. I mean, it's a samurai movie about a rogue samurai who wants to. What did he give his name as? Like a field of roses or something?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
he gets a lot of names. He doesn't have a name. That's really.
Yeah, this is
some
very,
points. When that guy keeps dying, he calls him 2-bit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the guy who. This is the. What's that actor's name?
Mifune.
Yeah, who's like, this is like what made him huge. Was working with Kurosawa and playing this character. I mean, this is very much Good, Bad, and Ugly, Fistful of Dollars type movie.
Yeah, because this is Fistful of Dollars is directly taken from this.
Yeah.
And then later on, there's a Bruce Willis action movie that takes place in like was it like Prohibition era? It's called like Last Man Standing or something.
Oh yeah, the one where he uses the 245s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also based on this.
Okay. Yeah, because the main character in this is kind of like an amoral character who's more interested in manipulating people for his own ends than actually fighting for good or evil.
Yeah.
Just more happy to sit on a tower and orchestrate fights between groups of merchants and Yakuza.
Yeah. Well, it kind of seemed like he first walks into town, like those gang like come out, and he just starts walking the other way, and they like laugh at him, and then he goes into like that restaurant, and the guys just start telling him like how horrible everything is, and it seems like he kind of seems like almost like, I'll help this guy out and I'll get rid of all the crime in the town, but then it seems like the entire town's made up of crime, so it's like,
yeah, who are the bad people here exactly?
Well,
I mean, some people are obviously bad, and other people are more subtly bad.
Yeah, but at the same time, he mentions multiple times in the movie that he wants to make sure they're the gamblers, and I can't remember what the other word he uses are, basically the unsavories of the town are wiped out in one go, and that's the best plan, is to get rid of all evil at once, because if you just leave half of it or just not do the job completely and trick them completely, then it'll just continue on. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw this as like it was a battle between like merchants and just straight up criminals, and then there was like a whorehouse in the middle of it, and this guy was just manipulating everything and really had no motivations until that giant beat the shit out of him. And they tortured him in a really long extended scene, and then he had kind of a motivation of vengeance, but there wasn't like a lot of morals to this guy. He was just happy to kind of let people destroy each other and then intervene at key moments. And because he did rescue the kid or the wife, and he told the family to leave, and he's like, "Here, take this stolen money and go," which is sort of weird. But yeah, that was I assume there's some cultural things I'm missing in this, but And then this was the movie. I actually saw this movie in a film class because I remember that one guy has a pistol.
Yeah.
The one Yakuza guy has a gun, which is like weird, and he pulls it like out of the middle of his kimono all the time.
Yeah.
He never has his arm free where he can actually aim this thing. He's always like popping up out of his kimono. So that's what's his name, Tatsuya or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm reading this in this translations at the bottom, but yeah, that was the guy with the gun. And yeah, Sanjuro is basically the name I got for the main character. And I like how at the beginning of the movie he's just throwing a stick up in the air, like, which road do I go down? And this guy has no motivation at all, just like this wandering, unemployed swordsman who's gonna come to this town and take over. Now, I kind of did a deep dive on like reading critique of this film, how they said this was Kurosawa's kind of anger against modernization in Japan, and basically saying that the political class and the business class are no better than the criminals of the old days. Like, supposedly this was supposed to mirror back to stuff going on in Japan in the 60s.
Well, that's me and Andrew were talking about because there's the what do they call him, the government guy, the inspector comes in.
Yeah.
And like we're because I was like, at first I was like, oh, like who's the inspector? Is this like a guy from the government? Like that's what I just assumed. But like nobody's happy. Like it's like you figure like, oh, this town's full of criminals and like a lot of shit's going bad for you. You figure like somebody would be happy that the government's coming, but no, nobody is happy that the government is coming to town. Not the criminals, not the innocent people. Nobody is happy that the government's coming to town.
Yeah, everyone's a liberal in the Indo period of Japan. This movie's set like at the same time as our Civil War. Like the time period is roughly the 1860s. But it's not really like super historically accurate. It's more of a parable of 1960s Japan than it is, from what I understand.
Yeah.
What Kurosawa said, but everyone always looks back and goes deep. Like, who's the guy who directed RoboCop?
Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah, Verhoeven always claims his work has this great depth to it, and it's like, well, okay, maybe if you want to see that now.
Yeah, it's one of our own terms, the Verhoeven effect.
Yeah. So I don't know how much of that was just, Kurosawa, because a lot of foreign cinema, when I read critique and or analysis of it, it's like, whoa, they're like really going deep here. How much of this is bullshit and how much of this is true. But yeah, I think his movies are pretty deep. And this one is pretty violent too, but like cartoonishly violent.
Yeah, the dog with the hand.
Yeah, the dog running by with the hand and the guy walking down the steps, and they had the weird music to match his steps. There was a lot of that stuff in this movie. This movie had an odd soundtrack.
Yeah.
Compared to like Hidden Fortress and the other one we watched. What was the other one we watched?
Throne of Blood.
Yeah, Throne of Blood. This had kind of.
Did we watch another one?
Yeah, the crime through the view of like 6 or 7.
Oh yeah, Rashomon. Yeah.
Rashomon. Yeah. This one had kind of a funny but sinister soundtrack at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it was lighthearted in places where it was almost inappropriate, but really sinister in other places where it's like, yeah, that matches with the action that's going on. A lot of people get slashed with swords in this movie. I like the guy that gets killed in the alley, and he just slowly dies throughout the whole scene while other people are fighting. Like it would come back to him, go back, come back. It's like, yeah, this guy's bleeding to death. He's spraying blood everywhere. That was like at the first hostage exchange. Because there's a lot of standoffs in this movie of like different hostage exchanges. It's like, here's your daughter, and here's your wife, and here's the geisha, and it's like we're gonna keep trading hostages back and forth in the same town. And then I guess these guys were Yakuza. Like one guy had a weird demon tattoo like all over his body. And
there's multiple guys that had tattoos because it was more or less explained like they'll just hire anybody that comes through town to be in their gang because it's two people basically vying for control of the town. Because one was the silk merchant, and now he started selling sake on the side. And the other one, I can't remember what he did, but basically, like, the first guy, the one that had the tall giant and had the best forces in town that the constable or the magistrate was pulling for, he controlled the inn, and, you know, also, or not the inn, sorry, whatever.
The brothel?
But he controlled the mayor and everything else, and he was the candidate to pick because he was going to be the guy that won the battle and everything. So it's just the same thing with why the samurai showed that one kid mercy at the end and told him to go home to his parents and eat gruel or whatever, because he knew he's just some poor farm boy that went there for fame and glory and money. And shit. So it's just people, just undesirables, gang members, gamblers, whatever, that people were drawn to the town and worked for one Rio or whatever the currency was.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone in town was shit. They were all shit people one way or another, whether they were merchants or criminals or whatever, something in the middle. Of course, the one lady that ran the brothel or the geisha house, or I don't know what the difference between a geisha girl and a prostitute is. I don't know. I know there's a difference, but I don't understand it. Yeah, she seemed like she just got like slashed down with a sword, like right in the middle of the movie. I know she was trying to protect the girls, but yeah, she didn't seem to have like a lot of character development.
Well, before she was locking them in a storage room to keep them from running away and protect her investments. So I don't know if it was the physical.
I don't know if she was a redemptive character or not. I couldn't tell by the time they were throwing bales of hay in there to burn them all out. But
well, I know she also was the one that brought up killing the samurai. In like, hey, we'll pay him half now, and then you'll feel comfortable, and then we'll kill him after he's done killing the rest of them. And blah,
yeah,
blah,
everyone
blah.
in that town had an angle, and it was always ugly.
Yeah, and it
was sad to see the sake plant destroyed. I actually had an emotional reaction. Liquor being wasted. It's like, oh my god, just gallons of it.
But no, like geishas are trained in not just the, you know, what prostitutes are trained in, which is the art of, you know, making somebody feel loved and fucking them. But at the same time, they're also trained in like poetry,
a different kind of seduction,
and being a handmaid to somebody, like seeing to their every need, and basically being great companions as well as, you know, fuck buddies or whatever. So
okay, yeah,
they're actually schools for that, and it was highly sought after because it's an honorable profession.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was different than a prostitute, but also the same fundamentally. I wasn't sure.
I think there's still
experience.
I think there's still like modern day geishas now. I don't know if they really have the same role as they used to, but I think there's still there.
Oh yeah, in Japan they do.
There's like the wine ladies or whatever. You buy a bottle of wine and you get accompanied by a lady, but you know the wine bottle costs like $1,500. And there's no sex involved, but you get a lady to talk to.
If I fuck the wine bottle, there's sex involved. My wine bottle can't say
Witness me!
Watch this. Hold my wine glass.
Bottoms up.
No, it just... Yeah, I don't get that, because they seem to do that a lot anymore, like call things, especially in America, where they say, I mean, they still use the word escort, but they do a lot of services where it's like, oh, you get to be, you know, this lady accompanies you all day while you're doing this task or errand or with this service. And
maybe your penis falls out of your
And it's like,
she's gonna help you shop and cook dinner, and maybe your dick will come into it at some point. It's like, however you got to dress it up.
Was it you guys that talked about in China now? There's rentable boyfriends for you to go shopping with in the malls over there.
Probably sounds like something we talked about,
or either I think it was just a Reddit post. Or something.
I think it was either on the radio show or something. I heard it while I was driving to work. But it's like basically, I think it's for like 50 cents an hour. It equates to you can rent boyfriends from like a storefront in the mall when you go in there, and they can't touch you, which fine, whatever. But they can carry your bags, talk to you, give you advice on things. And then you return them with your stuff after your car's loaded or whatever. and it's just like you rent them for the day to go shopping with you, basically.
Yeah, I could. It's probably girlfriends more than boyfriends because they had that
No,
one.
it said boyfriends.
Oh, did it?
on the
Okay.
story.
Because usually in China, it's like because they had the one child policy and everyone was killing their daughters
Yeah.
because they wanted boys to carry on the name. There's like a 20-to-1 ratio men and women in China, so there's way more men than women. But yeah, China's a country that they're a growing country with a lot of lonely people in it. And they kind of have their own unique solutions to that.
Oh, and we finally have the answer. All the lonely people, they come from China.
Well, not all. Well, here we just ignore people that are lonely because we don't see them. In China, they're a little more proactive about it because you don't hear things in China about like 90-year-old people just starving to death in their homes like you do here. I mean, they'll kill them there, but they won't let them starve to death. I mean, people are a little more proactive there.
The one thing I really liked about this movie is like how centralized everything was. Like you kind of walk into town and it's like, all right, this is all the locations. Everything exists in this town. It's kind of like shots from one building to the other. I like the restaurant or whatever. It had like all these like modular things that you could like open the window or slide this wall away. It's just like.
Yep. Yeah, they do have that in Japan. They have a lot of like multi-use rooms. And this movie had really, I mean, I guess this is one of the things that Kurosawa is known for, but it's like some of their like group shots and like people walking across the screen while other things are going on, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if they were playing with new cameras when they made this movie, but they seem to have a lot of like tight group shots and then action and then people talking, and it was almost like it would jump back and forth between that.
Well, like I thought, like when did Hidden Fortress come out? Because I thought that was his first movie to do widescreen, but this movie was in widescreen.
Let me see. Someone hit. I'm going down through film. But anyway, go ahead.
Well,
Widescreen.
I mean, from the after feature you were watching before we started the podcast, it seemed like a lot of his stuff was always widescreen cameras.
Hidden Fortress was 58.
Okay, oh, yeah, so it came before this. Because I kept in my mind, I felt like Yojimbo was like one of his early movies, but I guess it wasn't really.
No, it's one of the later ones. There's another one that because they made a sequel to this just called Sanjuro.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that.
And then what was the other one? Redbeard. That wasn't related to this, but it still had Mifune in it.
Isn't like Mifune in every one of his movies?
In a lot of them.
He's in a lot of.
I mean, I don't think I've not seen him in any of his movies so far.
No, we've watched all the Mifune ones, but yeah, he has a lot of movies, and we've pretty much watched a lot of the most popular or most recognizable ones, and usually he's in those ones. So I need to watch Ran though. I don't know if Mifune's in Ran though.
No, he isn't.
Okay.
No, that's considered it's the most expensive film ever made in Japan. But anyway.
Including Godzilla? No. Like,
Gojira?
So anyway, yeah, Yojimbo, check it out.
That's a fun movie.
It's kind of cool. It's a quirky movie.
or for you people in the South, yo, Jimbo! Like, check out that movie.
It has a lot of
I don't know if anybody looked up what Yojimbo actually means.
well, you know what, I didn't. I was looking up the other things.
Probably just means like a lone warrior or something like that.
Well, that's Ronin.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good movie too.
Hold on, I'm looking up the internet's gonna tell me.
Are you talking about Robert De Niro, Ronin, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what's was it like 44? No, that's that terrible.
Oh, it means
Keanu.
body.
Okay.
I knew they said something about him being a bodyguard who didn't really protect anyone.
He's the bodyguard that you need protection from.
But yeah, watch this and then watch Fistful of Dollars and Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and it's like, oh, okay, this all makes sense now. 'Cause it has the same quirky style.
People always pair those two together. I think maybe I need to watch it. But I remember A Few Dollars More being pretty underrated in the whole trilogy. I remember really liking A Few Dollars More.
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't that when they rob the bank and shit like that?
Yeah, it's where the guy keeps running at the screen and screaming, and there's dynamite, and I know there's a lot of weird camera stuff in A Few Dollars More.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Good and Bad Ugly is kind of like his ultimate movie, but like I think A Few Dollars More is kind of overlooked or underlooked.
Is that the first sequel with honest titling? A Few Dollars More.
Yeah.
It's not Spaceballs. Search for more money.
Couple handfuls more. We're not talking about tits.
Yeah.
Star Wars episode, or what's the next episode? 9.
What? Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, so Star Wars episode 9: The Search for $1 Billion.
Yeah. Quest for Billions. I still gotta watch that Solo movie sometime.
I'm not gonna say it's the best movie ever, like I said last time, but I think it was an enjoyable movie. I think it's just something to watch, and it's a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
It's one of those, of all the important movies we could watch, Solo's one of those movies where like you just end up watching it before you watch any important movie because you just know it's disposable, but it'll entertain you.
I don't want to think for the next 2 hours. Got a movie for you. No, but I do like how we watch these movies and then you read these high-minded, because sometimes I think there's a lot of high-mindedness in movie critique. And then you watch movies like this, it's like, oh yeah, these are good movies. It's like, this isn't just something that like, oh, I'm gonna watch this so I can say how smart I am. It's like, no, these are entertaining movies, and you can see how they connect to other genres of cinema.
Well, also I was telling like, because Andrew was talking about like, was explaining to his wife like who Kurosawa was and like how he influenced all these other people, and I was like, well, also don't forget he stole a lot of shit from John Ford and all those guys that made Western movies, because these are just essentially samurai movies are Western movies, and Kurosawa was very much a very good genre director, and a lot of stuff he did story-wise kind of influenced other movies, but he was heavily a genre director for a really long time, which usually isn't seen as like, it's not really high regard as like, oh, you make action movies. I mean, because that's what a lot of these were. They're just action movies.
It'd be like Jerry Bruckheimer 30 years from now being a visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I guess no.
You must see Transformers the last night because it is the cure. It was like the next Star Wars movie.
Wait, yeah, like 100 years from now, if you look at Michael Bay movies and say everybody switched to a completely different language, and this like Michael Bay movies are only understood in subtitles, like people would confuse those with genuinely good movies. Yeah, because there is amazing cinematography and cool action, but nothing really makes sense, and like people are stupid. But if you don't understand the language, then how do you know better?
I'd say the only Michael Bay movie that still holds up for me is The Rock, but that's just
Well, I think everyone agrees The Rock is generally a good movie, and across the board, like nobody says. I mean, it's probably still a lot of stupid shit in that movie, but yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can't really think of another Michael Bay movie.
It deserves to be in the Criterion Collection. Yeah. Now, Armageddon deserves to be in the Criterion Collection because it's absurd that it's in the Criterion Collection, but it is a great thing to just have that audio commentary where Ben Affleck says how hard it is to put a drill at the ground and hit go.
Yeah, this is a science. Well, one of the things I read about this movie was there's a lot of just interesting commentary back and forth about how the one character has a gun, has a 6-shooter specifically, and because some people are in the school of thought, it's like, oh, this is because it was the gun that did kill the samurai in Japan, because now you didn't need to practice with a sword, you could just shoot with people. Once modern technology started coming into Japan, the samurai sort of lost their clout. But some people said it's like, oh, this is Kurosawa's message about how modernity is coming to Japan and the gun is replacing the sword. And then other people say it's like, no, he's just kind of making a backhanded thank you to all those westerns that he borrowed his ideas by having a guy with a 6-shooter. I don't know where I am in that argument, but I like that argument exists because it does show that people are like, some people are calling bullshit and some people are just doubling down on bullshit. I don't know which is right, but it's fun to see that there's like two complete different interpretations of why the guy had the gun in this movie. And they're both equally as plausible.
I like when that guy is just bleeding and dying for 6 hours. He's like, I just want to hold my gun.
Let me hold it. And he's laying literally in a 100 gallons of blood, like a swimming pool full of blood. It's like, okay, we get it. He's dying.
Wait, I couldn't tell at first. Like, is that just mud or is that supposed to be blood?
Oh, it's blood. But yeah, this is these Kurosawa movies are important to watch. Just, you know, if you like movies, check them out. And, you know, absorb all the bullshit or don't. They're still fun movies to watch. Just for the soundtrack alone, and this one was so bizarre. I really liked it. It kind of had that playful soundtrack and then that edgy soundtrack at the same time. Like when the guy was walking down the stairs, the one Yakuza boss, and his back was to him. That's another thing in this movie. A lot of people had their back to things in this movie, and a lot of the times the camera was on the back of Mifune a lot in this movie. It's like you always saw him walking either towards the camera with a grim expression or walking away, and it was almost kind of like a quasi first-person view. It's like, well, we're going to follow him from his back and see where he's going, which was I hadn't seen that before. I mean, it struck me in this movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like the back of his kimono has like those 3 symbols on it, so you always notice that when he has his back turned. Like, oh yeah, his taillights are out.
Yep. What do those mean? What does that mean in that screen?
I mean, the kimonos and stuff should have been. I thought those were the symbols of the house he belonged to, but it said in the special features he's a masterless samurai or whatever. So it's like, well, okay, maybe he just keeps wearing robes for a house that doesn't exist anymore, or because the other samurai that was in the movie for a little bit, he had the same robe on but different symbols on the back. I thought, or maybe I'm just misremembering the symbol, but.
Well, this movie was set in a time, because I always try to like read about the time that this movie was in, even though it has nothing to do with nothing, but it is cool to know at the same time. It's like there were a lot of guys like this actually wandering around Japan, because in the 1860s, that's when Japan was starting to open up to trade with the rest of the world, and money was actually becoming a thing in Japan instead of this rice economy they'd had, literally rice economy, since, you know, the Middle Ages. Like they used to pay people in food and maybe a little bit of money, but once foreign trade started coming in and like goods were exchanged for money, that their whole system was turned upside down at this time. And there were guys just wandering around Japan looking for, you know, a fight, a robbery, or whatever this guy was doing. To see at the end of this movie, like the criminals and the merchants, he basically kills off all the criminals, and then the merchants kill each other. And I don't know what the message is. Maybe there is something probably there.
Without criminals, there's no economy.
or both sides are equally as bad, just two sides of the same coin. I don't know.
Well, I think that's something they illustrated poorly, because, you know, he's trying to, like, I'll get rid of all the evil in the town. But at the end of it, there's just 3 dudes left.
Yeah, it's like get rid of all the evil in the town, almost everyone's dead.
Maybe he's trying to make the point that everyone's evil, so if you get rid of all the evil, you're not left with much of anything.
That I could see that.
But then also, like, he's like, at the end, he's like, I'll see you later. And then it's like, it's like,
weird up-tempo. Like, he just killed 12 people in the street with a sword. Some weird.
And all of your actions led to the death of tens of dozens more. Like, yeah, I
just watched people kill themselves or kill each other a lot in this movie. What do you think of the weird giant? That guy kind of captured is because I was like, that guy looks like a James Bond villain or something.
Yeah, he did kind of look like Jaws.
Yeah. It's like,
and he has that fucking mallet.
Yeah, that's his weapon, his big hammer.
Is it just me, or was there a couple people, white people, dressed up in makeup in this movie? Because it seemed like like there was a couple more like Western faces that looked like they just had like twigs on or something. They weren't Asian.
That
Like
would
just
be-
low-level gangster people. They're just in the background, not like main characters or anything.
I didn't pick up on that.
Well, all the gangsters in this movie had bizarre dress. That's how you knew who they were. Because the guy who had like plaid kimonos and shit, like those were all the Yakuza. Because all the business guys had like silk kimonos. And then our main character had one that looked like it had been drugged behind a horse. And then the bad guys in this always had like weird striped kimonos and stuff. I don't know if that was... I didn't notice any particularly Western looking people, and that would be really weird.
There's the fat-faced buck-tooth guy who counts with his fingers. He's just, I want to watch him die so bad.
Yeah, I thought when he was taking the thing to the graveyard, it's like this is when he's going to get killed. He's going to pop out of the coffin and kill him. Didn't happen. He was running from ghosts or something. I don't know what the fuck that was. That's like... Because the guy tricked him into carrying the guy to the graveyard. And then he was afraid of ghosts. And he just seemed like a dumbass kind of comic relief character.
Yeah.
Because remember he came out and he said, I killed this many people. And the guy slapped him. It's like, go kill more. Really proud of himself for killing 2 people with a sword.
Well, I have to say, at least he didn't have to hit somebody with the sword in the back 8 times to kill him. Unlike some of the other
Yeah, there's the
fucking...
part where like they're smoking everybody out of the house, and like people keep running out, and they just slash from the back like 50 times.
Yeah. A lot of back injuries in this movie.
But anytime the samurai or somebody actually skilled hits somebody, it's like once or twice and they're dead. And they don't move
Yeah.
again. It's...
Yeah, the farm guys are just using them like hatchets.
Well, my theory was, too, is like, well, maybe the... Because, like, a samurai takes care of his blade and his weapon, and it's always sharp. Maybe they just don't know how to sharpen a sword with the shit. So it's just them hacking away with a blunt-ass sword in the back of somebody.
Well, all the bad people in this movie are stupid. And even the people that, like the business guys that are supposed to be smart, act stupidly. So, yeah, that could be. That could be your message, too, that, you know, it's like greed and evil is always dumb. Completely opposite of reality. I mean, some ways similar, but
But no, it's...
greed plus evil equals government.
Okay, slow down there, Trump. I mean,
Yeah.
next you're gonna be
Isn't that
telling-
just humans plus money equals evil?
Humans plus anything of value or power over others equals evil, yeah.
Did,
No matter how real or implied.
did anybody else see any of the articles written on the new, goddamn Attorney General Whitaker?
No.
Apparently he was...
Who's replacing the Keebler elf?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he was in Iowa once at a corporation that basically conned people out of money and was shut down as a criminal enterprise.
Oh yeah, the what? Is
The
it something like
patent, like
jacuzzis or some shit?
Yeah.
that
like-
sounds about right.
Videos him actively involved in that company trying to solicit people to give money to them and stuff like that, knowingly knowing it was not a legitimate corporation, and he's running the Department of Justice. So
Is
Loose and firm.
anyone shocked by that? Anyone who's paying attention?
no, I know, but at the same time, just a whole article about like, yeah, the Department of Justice has a political stance on who he will not investigate, and it happens to be Republicans. And it's like, oh yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, there's a bolt out of the blue.
Well, like the state of Maryland's suing them, and a couple other states are saying it's unconstitutional, including, goddamn, what's her name? Kellyanne Conway's husband is suing
Yeah.
the president for an unconstitutional appointment of that man to the Department of Justice, because saying he was not the next in line, he's not qualified for the job, and it's basically biased or whatever. And it's like, that's surprising coming from the spokesperson's husband for the president.
He's always hated Trump. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Isn't this just how they replace people in the Trump administration? You do it in threes. So the first one's a distraction. The first one's a big mess. Second one's a distraction, and the third one's the real guy they wanted.
Well, because there's
fuck
another
everything up.
story that like they're gonna try and replace Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and they're thinking about outing Pence too, because Trump has been asking how loyal Pence is recently, apparently, and it's like, what the fucking hell? It's like I don't
Well,
think.
yeah, and he said he apparently wants to get rid of Mattis because he's too liberal.
Yeah. Well, the fucking general who studies war is like priests study religion, they say about the guy, because he's never been married. He's just all into his business, and it's like, yeah, he's a crazy hippie. I'm sure he is.
It's probably because he wouldn't let Trump have his military parade.
Well, also there's that one time where like Trump just said like, "I want people dead now." He's like, "We're not doing any of that shit."
Yeah.
What he said? "We'll get right on it, sir." I was like, "We're not doing any of that shit."
But I mean,
Yeah.
vice presidents have changed between terms before, but I don't think there's ever been an acting vice president that's been
Oh
outs
yeah,
from
Spiro
office.
Agnew.
Oh, God damn it! Why did I forget about him?
I mean, it's just like what Conway's husband said. The whole Trump administration is a fucking dumpster fire. Beginning to end, there's just nothing. There's so much malfeasance there. It's just, if it wasn't his personality carrying it along, all these people would have been in prison years ago. And I still think a lot of them are going to end up in prison.
Yeah. I hope so.
That meme they have of Robert Mueller, and it has the Wheel of Fortune puzzle behind it, and it basically has every other letter. It says, "You're all gonna die in prison," and he's like, "I'd like to solve." Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, because all of Trump's empty threats about like, well, if the Democrats are going to investigate me, then I can investigate them better. And it's like, what are you investigating them for?
Yeah. we're being-
Too bad I've gutted the FBI to be completely ineffective.
Too bad the Justice Department serves my will and can't, conduct a legitimate investigation. I did like how the once Democratic representative from California was talking about a gun buyback for assault rifles, and then of course all the crazies got on there and it's like, we'll fight the government or whatever if you try to take our guns, and he's like, we've got nuclear weapons. That just of course all blossomed into pure insanity. What the fuck is this about? Your AR-15s can't defeat our nuclear weapons. It's like, oh, we're gonna nuke each other now? Okay.
Apparently, that's what it's come to.
Well, that's just the fucking ridiculous internet discourse in this country.
Oh, I know. They had somebody post on Reddit today that somebody had posted something about being supremely depressed, and even though they had no reason to be on like Pornhub, and people had only positive comments about their family loves them and please don't kill yourself. But if they would have posted on Reddit or YouTube or anything, people would have told them to go fucking off themselves.
I want to die. Do it.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, because you get like one comment for being a sane, reasonable person and about 20 or 5 million for kill yourself. Fuck you, you piece of shit. Or
Send pics.
or some racial, ethnic stereotype the person might or might not be that no one cares about. It's not even relative to the situation.
I want to kill myself. Are you a Mexican?
Well, it's just like that security guard that got killed this week for stopping a shooter and then got shot by the police dead. How many people fucking just railed against him on social media? Is like, oh, he deserved it. I'm like, yes, he deserved it for doing a good thing and stopping an insane
He
person.
saved so many people, he had to die.
It's like all because he
Just like Jesus.
It's like all because he was black. Like, woo, yay.
This is
Fucking
just here to
idiot.
serve my interests.
But yeah, it's just.
Well, I guess the only way we can reassure ourselves, and this is one thing I believe, it's like, that's a very small percentage of people, but they're loud, that are saying stuff like that. Because if I read a news story like that, where like a guy died stopping a shooter, I wouldn't even comment on it. I would just read the story and be like, oh, that's sad, or whatever, and then move on. It's the people that bother to engage that. It's like, well, I'm glad he's dead because he was black. It's like, that's a fucking crazy person. There's not like, and there's a few people that jump on the bandwagon. It's like, who can I piss off by agreeing with this guy? But it's not like millions of people. It's just people that want attention.
No, I know, but
The
it's sad
the anonymity brings it out in people.
Yeah, oh yeah. Everyone's a hero when they don't think you know who they are. But the stupid thing is, on a computer network, you know who everyone is. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who someone is. Trust me, I know. I've done it.
Especially when you use your Facebook profile with your name on it.
Yeah, you're logging in.
Make a racial comment.
Yeah, say something horribly racist, and then you get fired from your job at the meat packing plant. It's like, oh, Anonymous hacked me, or what? It's like, oh, dumb shit. You were logged in with Facebook.
Colin's probably seen all of this, like the people that post on social media about hating their job so much they'd rather quit, and then their boss just like texts them that they're fired.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, dumb shit, you posted publicly, and I'm on your friends list or your LinkedIn or whatever,
Yeah,
and it's like, now we know you don't like your job, so why the fuck would we bother keeping you on?
My boss is a fucking pedophile. It's like, and he's one of your friends. Like, what are you doing? Those guys.
He liked it. He liked my post.
There's guys at work that are like, because I don't have any Facebook friends from where I actively work right now, but there's guys at work that just call off work and not show up, and they have pictures of them on Facebook at the Tigers game, like holding up, woo, and their fucking boss is one of their Facebook friends. It's like, oh, you were sick yesterday, huh? It's like,
Sick with tiger fever.
yeah. Who are you fucking trying to fool with this shit?
I mean, it's bad enough living in a big town where you can run into anybody at any time if you fake called in sick and routing about and shit, but put public evidence of it online for anybody to see is another next step that's nice.
Yeah, well, it's just everyone like doesn't understand what computers do or something. They think they're like invisible.
I thought they're just jerk off stations.
Yeah, this is where I masturbated and wrote racist comments on YouTube.
Together at the same time.
Simultaneously.
That's why every computer has lotion, Kleenex, and a keyboard on it. So, just...
I watch too much interracial porn because that's the only time a white lady can say the N-word.
It's the only time I find black people appealing.
I don't know. It gets me off more.
Oh, wait. I know.
I have to talk to my preacher about this. Brings out the best in everyone. More information is always more helpful, right? The more you know about your friends, the better off you're going to be. All right.
Did you hear, Colin, they put in 8 new jerk-off stations in the library? I can't even finish the fucking sentence.
You mean a computer terminal? Nope, just jerk-off station. Just homeless, transient jerk-off stations.
Yeah, like someone's trying to interpret that. Like, was this like a fleshlight or something? No, it's a fucking computer. Why is it called a hobo ejaculate machine? Well, that's kind of a technical term.
I mean, it should have just go to the point and escalate where somebody says we have free Wi-Fi. Do we have free mobile jerk-off stations? Like we have free porn streaming.
We have soundproof booths for you to jerk off with your phone.
Yeah, that's what the libraries just like those. Yeah, they got these computer rooms with they have furniture in them like the back seat of police cars, where it's all like that hard plastic so you can clean the vomit and shit. Power sprayer. Yeah, it's just that's what it is. What are these new these HEM machines? What's that all about? Oh, that's a computer. What's HEM? It's a hobo ejaculate machine. It's a thing.
There's the floppy dick drive.
In the carpet, you just pull it up and just wring it out like in the sink, like it's like one of those it returns to its natural shape, that kind of material.
No, it should just be like the cattle slaughterhouses where it's just like thinly gapped like sheet metal, so the liquid like falls in between into a
slurry channel.
For cum and shit, just power wash the whole thing like the furniture.
Like when did our libraries become a cum abattoir? Times change. What happened to Stroke magazines? To find those in the woods when you were a kid. It's like, oh, a tit. I can barely contain myself. Now you got to see like some woman shitting on a German Shepherd. Become mildly interested. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is Street Factory Podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.